Hi, good evening, this is Suzanne.
And as usual, I'm Steve.
Yeah, we're here at the KTPF. We're in the hub at the moment.
Yes,
And
all on our Todd.
yes, it's the 27th of December. It's just before we go away to Scotland for the new year.
Oh yes, a little bit of hogmanay.
Yeah, so we hope you've enjoyed your Christmas so far.
I hope the Scotch are ready for us. Sorry,
Yeah.
Scottish are ready for us. I'll get me hand slapped. Can't say Scotch. If we're not Scotch, we're Scottish.
So as I was saying, I hope everyone's had a very nice
Yeah.
Christmas so far.
Yes, me too. I know we've had a nice time. Nothing too excessive, but a nice time.
Yes, definitely. And as I say, we do wish you all the best for 2013.
And we're here to give them a run through of what we did this year.
Yeah.
When did we actually start?
Well, we actually started on the 28th of March. We was on a program, on an internet online site called Spooky Radio. Do you remember?
Ah yes, our friend Paul said, can you do a show? And we went, okay, we can do a show with you. And he went, no.
Can you do a show?
You do a show? Can you do it for an hour? And we went,
What are we going to talk about for an hour?
yeah, I ain't got a clue what we're going to do. First show lasted 2 hours.
Did it really? No, just over an hour, I think.
No, it was nearly 2 hours.
Was it really?
Yeah.
God, it's gone really fast.
When you start talking to people, especially people on subjects that you don't particularly know a lot about,
No.
so much information. You
And
learn
a lot's changed since we started as well. I tried to make the replay a little bit more jazzed up with pictures and stuff, but it got a bit hard, I must admit.
It wasn't hard. It just took
Time
bloody
consuming.
long time for you to sit.
Yeah.
It took you for 5 hours to do the first one.
Yeah, but now it's just a case of we just put the banner up and let the music play, so to speak.
Let the show speak for itself.
Yeah, so anyway, we did that, didn't we? And
We did. And we managed to get some good guests.
yeah, friends of ours that we've been talking to for a while.
Yeah, and also a few of the groups volunteered to come in and tell themselves about us, which is, we want a few more of the groups coming.
Yeah, well, the first guest we had on, if you remember back that far, was Richard Freeman. So we were talking to Richard Freeman about cryptozoology, so here's just a snippet of that show. So, Richard Freeman, you are one of the fewest cryptozoologists in Britain.
Yes, yeah. We at the Centre for Fortean Zoology are the only full-time cryptozoologists in Britain, and as far as I know, we're the only full-time cryptozoologists in the world.
Right.
As a hobby, this is our calling, if you will, our vocation.
Right, so what is cryptozoology and what role do you actually play in this field?
Well, cryptozoology is the study of animals that are unknown to science. It literally means hidden zoology. So these things could be animals like the Yeti of Tibet and the Himalayas, sea serpents and so on. But it also encompasses things that we think are extinct but may still be around. Things like the Tasmanian wolf is a good example of that. And also animals that have grown far larger than the textbooks say they should, like the giant anaconda of South America and so on. But the list is quite a long one of these creatures that are as yet unknown to science or in some way strange.
Of all the places you've been to, which one made the biggest impression and what was you looking for?
Oh, that was Mongolia. I was searching for the Mongolian death worm in the Gobi Desert, and the Mongolian death worm is a burrowing creature that the nomads, the Mongol nomads, hold in great fear. They call it Alroy Hoi Hoi, or the intestine worm, because they say it looks like a great length of cow's intestine, and they believe it can spit a corrosive yellow saliva. And I went through the desert for about 1,000 miles in search of this creature, talking to many witnesses, and they were all describing the same creature, a sort of scaly, salami-shaped beast that lies in the desert. And usually when they see it, the whole communities will go into a panic. Sometimes they'll move all their livestock out of the way, and they'll pack up their gers, which are the circular tents that they have, and the whole community will move in fear of this animal. I don't think it's a worm at all. I think it's some sort of reptile, a burrowing reptile. There are a group of reptiles called amphisbaenids, or worm lizards, which are sort of worm-shaped lizards that burrow. Well, they're not true lizards at all. They're related to both lizards and snakes, but they're in a little group of their own. And they burrow underneath the earth. And I think this is a very large, unknown species of worm lizard. But Mongolia itself, the Gobi Desert, is amazing. Some of it looks like the surface of Mars. Some of it is so shiny and reflective, it's like a huge mirror. Other parts look like Mordor from Lord of the Rings. It's amazing. We were caught in a whirlwind there, a great desert twister. We explored caves made out of ice in a frozen river. It was absolutely astounding. It's the closest thing to being on an alien planet I've ever seen. It was amazing.
I bet it was. I've been looking at some of the YouTube stuff and some of the programs of late that's been put out on the television shows, like Monster Hunter. I believe that's the sort of thing you are at the moment.
Yes. I travel to all these places searching for these unknown creatures. It's what I do, and we make our own films about them, and we put them all on the Centre for Fortean Zoology website.
Yes, I see you've also got something on YouTube, haven't you, with certain programs that you've put on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that the other day. But there's been a lot of animals that have been discovered. I believe even the silverback gorilla was once, years and years ago, something that was not believed to be actually.
Absolutely, yes.
Something that was actually in existence. Was it the people of that area?
Yeah, the African natives used to talk about a hairy giant that lived in the mountains, and the Western explorers didn't believe them until the middle of the 19th century, when the first gorilla was shot. And then the mounted gorilla, the even larger mountain gorilla, that was unknown until the turn of the last century. I think it was 1904. And there's an analogue here with the Yeti. And I've looked for the Yeti in northern India, and the witnesses describe it as looking like a huge gorilla, but walking upright, covered in black hair, having a very gorilla-like face, and I've seen its tracks. So the Yeti, for example, is some form of huge ape, possibly a surviving form of Gigantopithecus blacki, an immense ape related to the orangutans that we know from its fossil jawbones and teeth, and that lived in the same areas where the Yeti is being reported today. I spoke to many witnesses in northern India about the Yeti, or Mandate Barong as they call it there. That's the local name for it.
Yes, I believe, is it true that there's many different types of Yetis species?
Well, in Asia there seems to be 3 distinct types of Yeti. There's a very large one that's about 3 meters tall that has black or dark brown fur, and it walks erect. And this is the one that is reported from northern India, but it's also reported from Tibet and places like that. Then there's a more man-sized one, which moves, that has dark brown or gingerish fur, and that moves on 2 legs, but sometimes will lope along on all 4s. That might be a mainland species of orangutan. And then there's a much smaller one, once again dark-furred, but walking upright. The Yeti isn't white. Forget you ever heard that. That's a complete myth. There's never been a report of a white Yeti. But this smaller one may be related to the orang pendek, which is another animal that I've been searching for. I've done four. I've done 4 expeditions to Sumatra, which is a large island in Indonesia, in search of the orang pendek, which is an upright walking ape, about 4 to 5 feet tall, but very powerfully built, very broad and muscular, and reported from the jungles of western Sumatra. And I've seen the tracks of this thing. I've heard it calling. One of my colleagues has actually seen it climbing down from a tree and walking off on its hind legs like a man. And I've worked with all the known apes. I used to be a zookeeper at one time, and I recognise apes' tracks, and the tracks of the orang pendek are completely distinct from any known ape.
Interesting. We've got a question on the chat room for you, so please bear with me before you answer, because I'll have to put you back towards the mic. Paul says he's seen a skull and hand in Naples temple, and its hair was orange. Do you know anything about this?
He's seen a skull in a temple in Nepal.
A Nepal temple.
Sorry, the what temple?
There's a temple in Nepal.
Yeah.
And he's seen a skull and a hand.
That's supposed to be a Yeti.
That's supposed to be a Yeti.
Yeah, the hand is human. The hand,
Right.
They examined some of the bones from it, and it was found to be from a human hand. The scalp is actually made from the hide of a mountain antelope. So they're not real Yeti icons. But
Right.
the thing is, the scalp was not meant to be taken from a real Yeti. It was originally worn by the monks when they were doing rituals to represent the Yeti. The hand itself is human, and there are several cases of this happening, of bits of what's supposed to be Yetis kept in monasteries, and they're so old nobody knows where they originally came from, and they're called Yeti remains, but so far they've all turned out to be human or of a known animal. But we do have hair from from the Chinese Yeti, the Yeren, and that's been examined by laboratories in the USA, China, and in England, and they conclude that it's from an unknown primate. Also, the orang pendek, we've brought orang pendek hair back, and it's been examined by Lars Thomas at the University of Copenhagen, and he says he was forced to conclude that it was from a large unknown primate.
Right, he was saying, it's alright, I have to keep going on to Steve's computer to see what it says, but it says something about the Annapurna Trail it was found on or something?
It was on the Annapurna Trail.
On the Annapurna Trail?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so that's that's cleared that one up.
Said he's going to ask for his 10 rupees back.
He says he's going to ask for his 10 rupees back. Okay, so one thing I wanted to ask you, I put it on your Facebook earlier actually. Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The I can't remember what it was. The Makeli Mbemba or something.
Mbembe.
Yes. Are there actually still dinosaurs around?
Yeah. There are plenty of dinosaurs in the world. Have you ever eaten chicken?
Pardon?
Have you ever eaten a chicken?
Yes.
Then you've eaten a dinosaur.
All right.
Birds are dinosaurs. Birds are feathered dinosaurs. But if you mean big, scaly dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex and Triceratops and so forth, no, they are sadly all extinct.
I originally saw something earlier on today, a programme, and they were saying a Brontosaurus. Now, I've always assumed that, well, we assume that is a veggie eater.
A Apatosaurus, to give it its correct name, was a herbivore, yes.
Right.
It lived in water, it lived on dry land, surrounded herds like elephants. It's been extinct since the Jurassic period. The Apatosaurus went extinct a long time before the end of the age of the dinosaurs. This thing in the Congo, Makeli Mbembe, I think it exists. People are seeing some large animal, and they describe it as having this long neck and a long tail, and it uses its tail to lash at canoes that come too close to it.
Right.
What I think people are seeing is not a dinosaur, but a giant species of monitor lizard. And monitor lizards are the largest of all the lizards. The biggest known one that's alive today is the Komodo dragon, growing to 3 metres long, 10 feet. There was a much bigger one in Australia called Megalania prisca, which may have been as much as 30 feet long, and that only became extinct fairly recently. There are rumours that it's still around, or something related to it is still around, in the outback of Australia and the jungles of New Guinea. And I think that the Makeli Mbembe, if it exists, is more likely to be a large semi-aquatic lizard than a dinosaur. These long-necked sauropod dinosaurs, they didn't live in water anyway, in swamps and lakes. They lived on land like elephants.
Well, there's been a lot of species that have actually been mentioned by the people in Africa, you know, the Congo and everything else. Look at the giraffe. that was once a mysterious creature, and we've got it now. It
was, and the okapi, which is a short neck relative of the giraffes, that was thought of as a myth when the pygmies used to tell Westerners there's a creature that resembles a cross between a zebra and a giraffe. They laughed at them, but it turned out to be this short neck species of jungle-dwelling giraffe, and its closest relatives are known from fossils in the Middle East that are something like 15 million years old. So this thing survived.
Yeah.
And it was totally unknown until, once again, the turn of the last century.
Yeah, it's quite a fascinating subject. We've got another question for you from Para Projects. I think it might be Jebby. I'm asking Richard Freeman on the phone for you. Does the speaker, because he forgot your name, think that there are any links between what we know as the Yeti, etc., and the... Oh, God, I've got to try and pronounce this. I hope you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Gigantopithecus.
The Gigantopithecus. Yes, I mentioned
Fossil.
it earlier, if you remember.
Yeah.
Gigantopithecus black-eye. It's the biggest ape that ever lived. It would have been about 10 feet tall.
Apparently there was a fossil discovered in China?
Yes, yeah. They've been discovered in China, India and Vietnam, these fossils. It's mainly known from teeth and a few jaw bones, so we've not been able to reconstruct the whole animal. But the shape of the jaw would suggest that it was a biped. It stood upright like a man rather than moving along on all fours. If the rest of it was built on the same massive scale as the jaw bones and the teeth, it would have been around 10 feet tall. So where we find these fossils, like India and China, they're some of the places where the Yeti is reported from today. And the fossils were found alongside fossils of other animals like elephants, rhinos, tigers, pandas, things that are still alive today.
Mm-hmm.
There's no good reason why Gigantopithecus shouldn't still be around in remote areas.
No, and obviously, what's your theory on the Loch Ness Monster?
It's not a plesiosaurus, for a start. That's a non-starter. It's more likely to be Elvis in a rubber suit as well. Most of the sightings are explicable by things like seals, which get into the loch, unusual wave formations, water birds, floating logs. I mean, there's an undercurrent in Loch Ness which can pull logs against the wind, so it looks as if they're swimming against the wind.
Yeah.
Most of the sightings are explicable by that. But there is a hard core of sightings that are a bit harder to explain. I think they involve some sort of gigantic eel. I think that a lot of these stories of monsters in lakes are down to huge eels. We know that the European eel lives in fresh water, swims out to the Sargasso Sea to breed, and then dies. And the babies, the leptocephalus, the little tiny babies, they follow ancestral trails back to the fresh water. But occasionally you get something called a eunuch eel, which is a sterile eel that doesn't have the impetus to go out to sea to breed, and it stays in fresh water getting bigger and bigger, older and older. Nobody really knows how big they can get. But I think some of the sightings of lake monsters are based on very large eels.
Yeah, Jebby's just come back and said possibly a sturgeon.
Yeah, sturgeon, the big catfish. I investigated a case, back in the... I think it was 2002 now, in Martin Mere in Lancashire, where something that was quoted as being as big as a car was attacking full-grown swans on a nature reserve, a lake in a nature reserve. It turned out to be an enormous catfish, and I saw it, and it was about 8 feet long.
And if you want to hear more about that show, you can listen to it back on YouTube, like all our shows.
Yes, all our shows end up on our YouTube channel. Just look for the KTPF and you'll find them all there.
Now, over the many weeks that followed, we didn't really think that we'd be able to fill all these up, but we had Steve Mehrer come in who was the chairman of MAPIT, or MAPIT, I should say.
Oh, careful.
Yes, Manchester Association of Paranormal Investigation and Training, and also the founder of Phenomena magazine, who actually now recommend the KTPF show.
A free online magazine.
Yes, and they actually recommend the show, so thank you to Steve Mehrer for that. He came in for a few weeks, didn't he? And
he did, he was with us for a while. And
until his job commitments come up.
Quite knowledgeable.
Yes, definitely.
I think Steve's one of those people that knows a little bit about everything.
Yes.
But he doesn't actually concentrate on any one area.
No. And then we had our Neil Munnelly, our very own medium.
Yeah, Mr. Whispering Neil Munnelly.
Yes, he comes in now and again and helps us out, co-hosting.
We had a good talk about demonology, didn't we?
Yes, with Steve Mehrer.
That was an interesting show.
We had Chris Andrews come in and he talked about his group at the time, which was Phase 2 Paranormal.
Phase 2, and then they reverted back to Club Zero.
Yes, they did do. And then just before we went off to Romania to investigate Bran Castle, we had Peter Wall come in, didn't we?
We did. Sorry.
Well, on the phone talking about hypnotherapy, wasn't it?
Hypnotherapy and past life regression. There was quite a few in the chat room that fancied the idea of that one.
Yes, there was. So listen to a little bit of.
Sorry for that. I was thinking back to Bran.
Yeah. Well, as I say, you can listen to a little bit of Peter Wall right now on the show on the 16th of May.
See everybody else again as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, what's been happening, Neil? What you been up to? What you planning?
Lots and lots of things. You know my thoughts at the moment. We're going through a huge energy change at the moment. I think lots of people are feeling it at the moment. Lots of people are going down with depression, and lots of people are getting anxiety and getting angry, and and it's worldwide. And it's a lot of it's got to do, I think, with the earth replenishing itself. It's repairing itself, and with that brings different energy fields, which is affecting everybody.
Yeah.
But I've been saying for months that there's going to be big changes. But apart from that, I've also been looking at keeping the paranormal friendly, as you know. But things are happening, as we know, and I don't know if anybody read the Sun newspaper yesterday. We won't talk too much about it, but things do happen.
Yes.
Which are good for change, I should say. But
talking about change, everyone's decided to put the end of the world on hold at the end of the year.
Well,
yes.
Supposedly.
They found proof that the Mayans actually went to the year 6000, not 2012.
Well, I think what everybody's forgetting about that as well is they're not including bank holidays in that.
All right.
If you add them up over how many centuries, and how many thousands of years of bank holidays there, I think we've got it all wrong anyway.
Well, this is it.
But I don't believe in that anyway. But
I don't know.
That's another story.
Yeah.
So, do we get days in Lou?
That's right, yeah.
So, okay, so you've been on.
Breathing, Sue. Yes, we do.
We've been talking about mediumship
Yeah.
in the past, and so maybe we can start talking about that again.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your side of mediumship, you touched on it before in our little interview.
Yeah.
So, what is there anything else you can tell us about?
Which part of the interview were you talking about? I think I was bombarded with questions at the time. So.
Okay, we'll talk about mediumship in general.
Yeah.
Well, how about you're a physical medium?
Yeah.
So, how does that side of it work?
Yes.
Well, again, there's many forms of physical mediumship, and some people use just sort of. I mean, you've got things like trance mediumship, which is a big one. Lots of people out there confess to be a trance medium, and I say the word confess, but we won't talk about that neither.
Yes, I did pick up on that one.
But there are many forms of physical mediumship. But the thing with physical mediumship is what it says. It's a physical presence, and you're using more physical energy, not just your own energy, but sort of spiritual energy as well. And it's a 50-50 thing. It's not. You're not getting messages in your head or anything like that. In some sort of degrees of physical mediumship, you can be possessed, as they say, in brackets. That's what people call it. But spiritual energy can enter your body or play with your mind, or so it's very hands-on, I call it.
Yeah. So are we saying that you actually take spirit in? So you actually channel in spirit?
Well, if we look at trance mediumship, for example, what trance mediumship is, that the medium will actually go into what we call a trance.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it's called trance mediumship. And what that does, the medium will go into a state where they are at a level where they can sort of get in touch with spirit more than what, say, a clairvoyant medium would do.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a deeper level. But But what that enables spirit to do is they come through and they will actually play with the medium's mind. It enables them to, they don't come into the body, but they'll actually play with the medium's mind.
Yeah.
And things will be broadcast in that manner of way.
Yeah. Ian's saying physical manifestation and manipulation.
Yeah, there's loads and loads and loads out there, and there's different people call different things, and you know, you can write. There's a list as long as my arm that is included in physical mediumship.
Yeah.
You know, but to be honest, it's all very much the same. It depends on how much of a level you're able to go. You know, deep in trance or deep into the other side. So.
Yes, it seems today that a medium's not a medium anymore.
No.
This kind of medium or that kind of medium.
I wished that we could have gone back to the old days and just said, right, I'm a medium and that's it. You know, there's so many different titles out there. But then it comes down, you know, again what I was talking about is there's lots of people out there who confess to be this and confess to be that. And I think a lot of them people are completely wrong. You know, they're barking up the wrong tree.
Right.
Hi, I'm Neil Munnelly, and I'm proud to be keeping the paranormal friendly.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. I'm Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Neil. And he's live in the hub with us, and we'll be talking to him a bit more in a bit. And you'll be hearing a bit more from him too. I'm going to ring up Peter Wall in a bit, just to give you an idea. Peter Wall is a clinical hypnotherapist. He's what I call a dip hip-ish and LNCP. DIPHO. He always got letters.
Yeah, lots of letters.
Have you lived before? He's there to explore past life regression, and he takes you back into your past life to explore it. Why do people have a past life regression session? Well, these are some of the questions we'll be talking about and be asking him. I'll just get him on the phone. So please remember, you cannot call during this conversation because I've only got one line, but if you would like to ask questions via the chat room, we can relay them to Peter. But please remember, he has got a bit of a cold, so I'm going to ring him now, so bear with me.
Can I have a leaflet when you finish that? I'll put it on.
Hi Peter, it's Suzanne. Yes, I'm going to put you live on the air, okay? Okay, by the phone. Right, okay. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Peter Wall. He resides in the Barnsley area, is that right?
I do, yes, in South Yorkshire.
And you are a past life regressionist.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and one of the things I specialise in is past life regression, yes.
Okay. Can everybody hear him okay in the chat room? 2 seconds. I'm just making sure they can hear you okay.
Speak to us, guys.
Yeah, speak to us in the chat room, please. Tell us that you can hear. Yes,
Yes.
Good. That's fine. Okay, right then, Peter. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself first and how you got into it?
Well, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I have been for about 10 years now. I got into hypnosis, clinical hypnosis, by accident, really. I was at a Mind, Body and Spirit fair in Ilkley back in 2000, the year 2000. I met a guy there called Brian Glenn, who was an instructor in clinical hypnosis, and I actually signed on to his course and joined him. A year later, I qualified as a clinical hypnotherapist, and in 2005, I opened my own clinic here in Barnsley. So,
Right. And you do past life?
I do past life regression, yes.
Yeah. We've seen that at the MBSs. You have quite a few people come through to see you.
Yeah, I travel around the country, as you know, doing the MBS events, both here and abroad. I've worked in Benidorm,
Mind, Body and Spirit Fens over there. That's quite interesting. I've also worked in Germany on the military bases doing past life regression over there. And I've also worked in Jersey as well, doing the MBS events over there.
So what is past life regression? What's it all about?
It's about taking people back into the lives that they've had before this one. There are 3 different types of regression that people can experience. There is regression, where we take people back into their childhood. There's past life regression, where we take people back beyond that into the lives that they've had before this one. And then there is progression, where we can allow you to go into the lives that you've yet to come.
Right, okay. And why do people want to do this sort of thing?
Well, there's several reasons why people want to be regressed. Sometimes it's just pure curiosity. You know, they've heard about it and they want to try and have an experience of it. Some people just want a sense of completeness, knowing more of who they were in past lives, etc. Some people have it done just for, they get deja vu. You know, when you go into a place and you think, I just feel as though I've been here before, and yet I've never visited this area. And it can be a memory from a past life.
Carly said, can you have both?
Some people are absolutely scared of dying. I know I used to be one of those people. I used to be absolutely terrified of the thought of dying. Whereas now, dying doesn't bother me as much, because dying is a part of what happens to us humans. But I know, in my heart of hearts, that I'll probably come back and experience another life, and so on and so on.
Right, I've got a question for you. I'm not quite sure what the question is, but she says, can you have both done? What do you mean both done?
I think she means progression and past life.
Oh, right. Can you have progression and past life done?
Well, at the same time?
Yes.
Well, you could do, yes. I mean, there would be 2 separate sessions, obviously. First of all, we take you back into either the... Well, you could either have the progression done first, and then after a small break, you can come back and do the regression.
Right, okay.
There's a thing called, I don't know if people understand how it works, but there's a thing called the space-time continuum.
Okay, would you like to explain a bit about it?
Yeah, the space-time continuum, you've probably heard it on Star Trek and things like space films. And basically what it means, if you imagine a circle in front of you, okay, spinning around and around, and that's your life now, your circle of life. And at one side of this circle, and interwound into it, there's another circle, and these are all the lives you've had. And then on the other side of the circle, there's another circle spinning around, and these are all the lives that you've yet to come. So it's a bit like the Olympic rings, you know, where they link together?
Yeah.
And so if you imagine, if we start at the top of the middle ring, we can drop down to one side and then go into the other ring, which is your past lives, and experience things from there. If we start the other way, we can drop down that circle and go into the other circle, into the lives that you've yet to come.
Right.
It's called progression.
Right, I see. Ian Lawrence, what's...
Progression. In the 10 years I've been a hypnotherapist, I've probably done 3 or 4.
Right.
People do ask me, but I tend to not want to do it really, because to me it's not something that's researchable.
Right.
Because obviously there's no evidence for it yet. Whereas with regression, the things you tell me, the kind of questions I ask you under regression, are designed so that if ever you wanted to go away and research it, you can do. So I'll try and get your full name, where you live. If it's the 1800s when we had post, well, you would have had an address. So I'll try and get that out of you. If you're a child, I will try to get your parents' names, your father's name in particular, what he does for a living, so that you can go back and research these things and go and find yourself back in time. And as you know, because I think you've been to one of my talks, haven't you?
Yes.
And I do talk and I do a PowerPoint presentation and I show people some of the things that people have found out when they're being regressed and they've done some research, and it's quite fascinating. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I'm very sceptical at first when I first started.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, well, these people are just making up. It's like a story they're telling me, you know. But when they go away and research and they actually find these things do exist, then I had to start to change my mindset and start thinking, well, hello, there's something in this. And after 10 years, I strongly believe that the memories that people are giving me, the memories that they're telling me, are actually past lives. because of the amount of research they've done. It's a bit like if I was to say to you, can you remember when you was a little girl?
Yeah.
And you used to go on holiday, and I would say to you, where did you go? And you might say, Bournemouth. And I would say things like, well, did you go to a caravan? Did you go in a tent? Did you go in a hotel? Oh, I went to a caravan. And did you have your own room? Yes, well, no, I had to share with my sister. How old were you then? I was about 8. And so really, all we've done is we've just gone back all those years when you were 8, and you're just telling me exactly everything that was there. And so that's like regression. We just go beyond that into the subconscious part of the mind where everything's stored, and then we just bring it back.
Yeah. Ian says he wants to go right back. He said he has odd dreams and wish to see relevance. Carly says, how much would it cost? Would it be for both? She wants to go right back to the past life, but have insight into the future.
Right.
Can that be possible?
Anything's possible.
Okay.
My fee, the moment that I charge is £60.
On the multiverse.
Right. What was that? Your fee is how much?
My fee at the moment is £60.
Is that for both or just one?
No, that would be for the session.
Okay.
And so in that session, if somebody wanted to go into a past life, we'd take them into a past life, and then we'd take them into the future life. So we'd do that in the session, and that's how much I would charge.
Right, okay. Ian says it's a variation of a multiverse theory. Does that sound feasible?
Could you repeat that?
Ian said a variation of a multiverse theory. Does that sound feasible to you?
A multiverse
theory.
The multiverse theory. What does that mean?
What you were saying about the rings, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just a different name for it, then, is it?
Right, maybe. Carly says she has her reasons, but she does need a bit of guidance. Ian says, I have been having very real daydream thoughts, which weren't mine.
Okay. You see, you don't have to have hypnosis to be regressed, because I don't know if your listeners are aware that hypnosis is only a form of relaxation. That's all it is.
Right, okay.
Okay, there's nothing mystical or magical about hypnosis. It is only relaxation. And so if you think about it, any form of relaxation, like meditation, for instance, when you go to sleep, all of these things, you can actually access your past lives. Some people dream past lives. Some people have recurring dreams. Sometimes a recurring dream that keeps coming back night after night. Sometimes it's something that you may have a problem you may have had in a past life that you've not resolved, and your subconscious is reminding you through your dream state that you haven't resolved it.
Right.
Until you go back and resolve it, then the dreams stop.
We are putting your details on the chat room for people to, because we've had a couple on there that said, like, consider me booked. So and we'll ask you again later.
Yeah.
All the details. We've got Neil with us, our medium. He'd like to have a word with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
He's got a question for you. Turn your mic on and put that close to it. 2 seconds. 1, 2. I think that's on. 1, 2.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Just a quick one. Well, I say a quick one. Going back to my 18th birthday many years ago, I was sat with my mum. We'd had a few to drink, and we were talking about past, etc., as you do when you've had a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
And we were getting a little bit of, emotional and stuff like that, as you do after a couple of drinks. And I brought up a couple of memories that I had when I was a child. And one of them in particular was a trip we had to the Isle of Man, which was a weekend holiday. And she took me and my brother. Well, we went with my mum and my dad, but me and my brother went along, and I explained absolutely everything and described everything about this holiday, the weekend. The ferry, even down to the seasick tablets that she took on the ferry. I could describe the weather when we went and caught the ferry. I could describe the hotel and the foyer and everything that we did over that weekend. I could absolutely, completely describe to her in very, very minute detail.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was talking away and told her this, she was sort of sat there and she sort of gone a bit white. And she basically turned around and said to me, you weren't even born then, you were conceived on that holiday. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that, because I've still got them memories in my head, and to me, I was looking back, I was a child of about 2 years old.
Right.
So that's.
Well, there are some interesting theories that sometimes what we find is that some spirits choose their parents. Yeah, like some children will say, "I chose you, mummy."
Yeah.
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 And so, if you usually what it is, it's the life you've just left. So if you was about 2 years old in your previous life when you died, and you decide to come back very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what you could have done is you could have chosen your parents, but seen what they were doing.
Right. Okay.
And then you were obviously conceived on that holiday.
Right. I've got you.
That's why you were aware of it. It's because in spirit you could see what was happening. And you know about that, being a medium. You know that spirits can see what's around you, and they can see what you're doing and things like this.
Yeah.
And so my take on that would be that because you felt you was about 2 years old in your previous life, the one that you just had before you now, is you was probably 2 years old when you died, around that age.
Yeah.
That's why you felt that you were that age when you were looking and seeing your next family.
Right. I mean, you've got exactly the same take as me on that. I mean, we had a chat about this last week, didn't we, Sue? Yeah. And you know the little test you do on the side of your hand to see how many lives you've had in the past. I've actually had 2 lives in the past. One of them being obviously I died very, very young, which would obviously relate to the 2-year-old.
Did you have a very short line on your hand?
It was very, very short. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
And sort of my take on that is that was my new soul, or should I say my old soul, coming back as a reincarnation back into that family, you know, from passing over as that 2-year-old. And so really I've got the same take on that.
There you go.
Interesting.
It is, isn't it? I love the subject. I think it's absolutely fascinating.
Well, thanks for that, Peter. I'll pass you back over to Sue.
Interested, but I mean, I'm not a spiritual medium or anything like that, but I actually regressed this lady, and she was in this house, and there was other people there, lots of people in this house, like a party going off, and she was describing everything that was there, and so I kept asking her name, and she couldn't tell me her name, so I said, go and ask somebody what your name is. Yeah?
Yeah.
And she said, they won't tell me. And so I said, well, go and ask them what they call this place. And she started getting really frustrated, you know, her face was changing, and you could see the anxiousness on her face.
Yeah.
She says, they're ignoring me, they won't talk to me. And I suddenly twigged. I said, can they see you? And she says, I don't know. I don't think they can. And it was like she was there, but they didn't know she was there.
Right.
And so I thought, hang on, she's in spirit here.
Yeah.
And so I asked her why she was there, and she was looking for her son.
Right.
And she said, my son, I've got to find my son, he's here somewhere.
Yeah.
And she said she'd been looking for him for a long time. And so I figured out that she was actually in spirit, because that's why other people couldn't see her.
Yeah, yeah.
She was getting really frustrated.
Yeah.
And I said to her, you know, why don't you go to do you know where the light is, the bright light? She said, I'm not going there. No, I want you to go to the light. She said, no, I've got to stay here. I've got to find my son.
Yeah, exactly.
And I told her that if she really wanted to find her son, the son was on the other side of that light waiting for her.
Right.
And she went, and she said, I'm going now. And I said, okay, it's okay to go.
Yeah.
And this woman's face just changed completely. She just went straight back into hypnosis. She just sunk back into a chair. She had this nice look over her face. And I just brought her out of it. And I feel absolutely amazing now. And so, you see, even when I regress people, it doesn't mean to say that they're actual living beings when I regress them. They could be in spirit.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very interesting how the two subjects can come, you know, so close together there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very interesting, that, Peter. I'm going to hand you over to Sue anyway.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for talking. Thanks.
No problem.
Well, as I said, Steve, that was just before we went to Bran.
It was.
We had the Hectic Show Part 1.
Yes,
before we flew out.
Yeah, that was 2 really hectic shows, because it was the night before, wasn't it? We did that one, and then when we came back, we
got straight back on the show.
It was the airport, and then straight back here to do the show again.
We had an hour to get ready.
We made it.
Oh, we did.
Who did we have on that show?
We had Wendy Calloway came on.
Yes.
She actually joined us at Bran.
Yes, she was in Bran.
You're going to have it's not all on there, but you can as I said, you can always recap on some of the or most of the shows on YouTube. But she tells us briefly about her canine companion in the group,
Star.
So here's one for you guys. Maybe a new recruit coming up somewhere along the line. We've got Wendy on the phone, so let's not keep her waiting. How are you, Wendy?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Have you got over Romania yet?
Just about.
Just about.
It was a fantastic weekend.
Yes, it was. And a pity you're not joining us back again.
I know, but I'm going to be in Nepal.
Oh, right. I see.
So,
Off to Nepal.
maybe the following year.
Right, okay, so...
I think we can let her off for that one, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose so. Right, okay, so you're part of a group called Southern Paranormal?
Correct, yeah.
And what role do you play?
What role do I play? Well, I help organise new experiments.
Right.
And then quite often I team lead when we do investigations.
Right, okay. And do you allow the public on, or are you a private one?
We're a private team.
Private team. So
we're also, I think, the only team in the UK that has a dog as part of their team.
Oh, I'd love to have my dog. I've got Scrappy Doo here.
We have a husky who joins us on investigations sometimes.
Oh, bless! I'd love to take my little Roxy onto investigation, but it won't work.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. It adds a new element to the
No, our little Roxy will be jumping in everybody's lap.
Oh, bless! So techno dog.
Techno dog.
I don't know whether you're actually seeing the chat room at all.
No.
No, you're not, right. So sometimes they might ask questions and
okay.
I'll be relaying them to you. So how does this dog fit into your group then?
One of our team has actually reared huskies and is part of a husky club. And he suggested that we come along on the team and see how we get on. Yeah. And so his dog has been coming along to a few investigations with us.
The dog's called Star.
He's all well equipped. He's got proper little shoes and everything so that he doesn't get hurt, and fully insured. So
is the dog called Star by any chance?
Yes.
Right, okay, because we've got somebody on the chat room and they've called themselves Lover Bunch. They haven't really changed their name. But I don't know who that was. It says the dog is called Star and is a star. So do you know who that might be?
It's probably one of our team.
So yeah. So I take it you told him you're going to be on the show tonight.
I have.
Right. Okay. So that's good. At least we get a few more listeners.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell us your name, Steph said. Right. If you didn't catch my caller's name, it's Wendy Calloway from Southern Paranormal. Way down there. Whereabouts are you based? Right. So where have you been of late that you feel is quite spooky?
We went down to Jamaica Inn in Cornwall.
Oh yeah.
And we actually stayed overnight down there, so we hired out all the rooms.
Oh, that sounds good.
It was amazing.
Was it expensive?
I don't think it was too bad overall, no.
No, oh, that's not bad. So what did you do? Hire a room like each? Is that what you did? You each hired the room?
So we had 6 rooms and there were 2 of us in each room.
Oh, right. That's not bad then.
No, and it was a really, really good investigation, actually.
Was it? I've popped in there on my way back from Cornwall, but I've never actually done anything there.
Yeah, worth a visit. We also went over to Ireland end of last year and investigated Leek Castle.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll have to email me the prices. I'd love to go there. I'd love to go to Ireland. I keep saying... We had a guy come on to us asking us about Tettenhall Towers recently. And
okay.
He was from Ireland, and when I asked him, he said, oh, they don't like it much over here. So don't forget, if you want to be on the show, just email us and we will be there for you. All you need to do is just email us and tell us what you'd like to talk about, and then we can have you on the show, whether it be by phone or live in the hub, because we are based in Manchester, not far from the City Ground, and you can come in and join us for the evening and be a co-host maybe. So there is that, and remember, if you have got a special event coming up within the next week, just email us as well at admin@ktpf.co.uk, and we will include it in our show and let everybody know what you're doing to raise money or just some special event that's pertaining to the paranormal. How would you feel about having Roxy on the investigation, Steve?
No. She'd be too interested in saying hello to everybody.
Yeah, this is it.
And I mean, she gets spooked here at times.
I know. So, well, as I say, the weeks went on. We had Night Northern Investigations come in. That was Glenn Richardson. He was on Skype and telling us about his group.
Yeah, I like it when the groups come in, because I mean, I like to learn what they're doing that we're not.
Yeah.
And
where they've been.
And I'm sure vice versa.
Yeah.
Then we can try out these different things that okay, we might try stuff that doesn't work for us, but it might work great for somebody else.
Well, this is it.
I mean, like we did the planets thing
yes.
we did for 12 months to see
if that worked.
For us, it didn't. But somebody else might do it slightly different and get different results.
Well, thinking about Richard Freeman again, we was actually invited to the Weird Weekend, and just before we went down there, we had Richard back on the show with his companion John Downs.
Oh, that was one funny show.
It was really good. They were a great double act.
Kat wanted to leave our group and join theirs.
Definitely. You can listen to a little bit now of how they explained who was on the Weird Weekend.
Little turncoat she was.
So we'll see you just after this little remembrance of that show. Yeah, so there are strange things around. Right, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm sorry I wasn't there earlier.
No, it's fine, my darling, not a problem. How are you?
Overworked, underpaid, but apart from that.
It's same old story, isn't it, really?
Yes, I think so.
Well, I don't know whether you've seen our promo recently that's been knocking about Facebook, but during that promo, apart from a couple of fake articles regarding monsters and newspaper clippings, we mentioned there's a little thing that comes up, as well as Richard's Orang Pendek book featured. We also featured one of your books, The Owl Men and Others.
Oh, wow, thank you.
So I was just curious to know, now let's just put people in the picture. Your name's John Downs, and you are at the headquarters of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, is that correct?
Yeah. Yep, I started the Centre for Fortean Zoology 20 years ago this year.
Oh, great. That's something to
happy
celebrate.
Anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Well, thank you, man.
So what got you involved, John?
Oh, it's a long story, but if you've got time for it. I was brought up in Hong Kong, which was a British colony back in the 1960s, and I was always interested in animals. And every Thursday, my mother used to go to the library, and she used to bring back picture books for my little brother and animal books for me. And one day, she brought back a book called Myth or Monster, and it turned me on. I was only 8 years old, but it told me that people believed there were monsters in Loch Ness, and there was a Yeti, and there was Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest, and there were sea serpents in the sea. And suddenly the idea that there were real monsters, that the things I'd seen on Doctor Who could really be real, it blew me away. It's one of the great epiphanies of my life. And I went to school the next day, and our class teacher was a terrifying old lady called Mrs. Alexander. She said to the class, "Now, boys, what are you going to be when you grow up?" "Billy, what do you want to do?" And Billy had said, I'll be a soldier, miss." "What about you, George?" "I'll be a train driver, miss." "And what about you, Jonathan?" "Well, I'm going to be a monster hunter, miss." And she towered above me and looked down at me and said, "Young man, you are never going to amount to anything if you don't manage to learn your 9 times table." And that basically put me in my place at the age of 8. But I ignored her, like I've been ignoring authority ever since. And I've been a professional monster hunter for 20 years now.
And what is there anything that you've really achieved by being a monster hunter? Is there, anything you've actually found?
I met Richard Freeman.
Well, there's one. But have you actually found anything? Have you actually had that tangible evidence?
Yeah, on quite a few occasions. Richard and I were called in by... I don't know, Richard, have you talked about Martin Mear yet? Because that's another...
Briefly, very briefly.
Well, hope I'm not repeating what you said, but we got called in 10 years ago this summer by the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust in Lancashire, and they asked us to come and investigate something that had been attacking wildfowl in a lake there, and Richard saw it. It was a giant catfish, and I did a lot of work on this, and it turns out it's probably the oldest and largest freshwater fish in England. Now, I say the largest in England because that's exactly what I think the Loch Ness Monster is. Again, this is really bad of me to turn up halfway through the show and I don't know what Richard's already said.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I don't know. Richard and I have been contradicting each other for years. It doesn't really matter, does it, mate?
I don't know. So you've been doing this now for 20 years and obviously...
Well, I've been doing it for longer, but I've been running the CFZ for 20 years. I've known Richard for 15 of those years.
Uh-huh.
We've been friends for 15 years and working together pretty well as long.
So will you be doing any more excursions to go and find things, or are you just based at the HQ now?
Well, my health is pretty bad, and I can't walk very well anymore, and I've got a whole battery of health problems. But I went to America. I was chasing blue dogs in Texas 2 years ago. I'm putting together an expedition to Hungary, which Richard will be involved in, looking for the reed wolf in the northern Hungarian marshes. I'm putting together an expedition to do that, and I'll be going back to America at some time chasing the blue dogs, and I want to make a film in Hong Kong. So as long as it's somewhere where I can either go in a wheelchair or someone can push me, I'm still in the field.
Yeah, definitely. Kat's asking, are you actually part of the Fortean Times? Richard and I write for the Fortean Times, and we have done for many years. I mean, it's been nearly 20 years since I first wrote for them. And these guys are friends of ours, but no, we're not part of it. She said she said she'll be pleased to push you if you need it.
That's really kind of you. Thank you, my dear. That's an offer a guy doesn't get every day.
I don't mind carrying your suitcases while you're at it. But
hey, I'm going to be sort of like one of these Victorian adventurers with all his bearers and supporters. Except all my supporters and bearers are going to be glamorous young ladies.
Oh yes, you're going to have some entourage.
Hey, it's pretty good being the patriarch of a crypto organisation.
Just don't forget the pith helmet.
Are you taking the pith helmet?
Just a little one. John, can I just ask, how do you actually become a cryptozoologist?
You want the truth?
Pardon?
He wants the truth here, doesn't he?
Yes.
What actually happened? When I lost my last proper job 20-odd years, about 22 years ago, I was publishing I was publishing small press magazines with my first wife, and I had enough money left to do one last magazine before we went bankrupt. And so I did one issue of a magazine called Animals and Men, which was a cryptozoology magazine, and I went along to the first ever of the Fortean Times Unconventions, and I went along, much to my surprise. I went there with 200 copies of the magazine in my bag, and I thought I'd just give them all away. Much to my surprise, I sold most of them and picked up a load of new subscribers, which is amazing. Suddenly I had the beginnings of an organisation. The Centre for Fortean Zoology wasn't just me, my ex-wife, and a bloke called Dave. Suddenly there were members, and we could actually go and do something. And while I was there, I met two very important people. I met Dr. Carl Schuker, who was kind enough to take me under his wing. He's been a friend of mine now for 20 years, and we've done a lot of work together over the years. And I also met an Irishman at the bar. His name is Tony Shields, better known as Doc Shields, or the Wizard of the Western World. And he and I sat at the bar drinking, and Doc had one of those big Irish barans, the hand drums, was banging away on it and singing rebel songs and demanding drinks from people as they came past. And a guy from The Guardian came up to us. He said, "Gentlemen, you're obviously important members of the Fortean Society. Will you give us an interview?" And Doc said, "Lock your socks and gobshite." My name is Doc Shields. I am the Wizard of the Western World, and this fat bastard sitting next to me is the world's most famous cryptozoologist. And God help me, the next day they printed that in The Guardian. So that's how I became a cryptozoologist.
Oh dear. Kat would like to know is, like we have paranormal teams and groups and stuff, are there actually crypto teams?
Very much so. Richard's got a team with the basis of which is the expedition team that he takes out on expeditions every year, and I've got people I've been working with for years. If there are people out there who want to get involved, email me. Despite what you might have read, both me and Richard are quite approachable.
So how do you become one, basically? Do they just contact the CFC?
If people, yeah, Richard, you answer this one.
Yeah, do they actually have to be zoologists?
No, good God, no. No. All it takes to be a cryptozoologist is really determination and interest. If you go out, do it yourself, and you have to use scientific methods. You don't go off half-cocked. You have to plan. I mean, I wrote a whole article once on how to plan and execute an expedition. But you don't have to be an academic to do it. I mean, Dave Archer, I mentioned earlier, who saw the orang pendek, he was just an ordinary guy who got interested, joined the CFZ, came down to meet us at the Weird Weekend, which was our annual conference, and he ended up going on several expeditions and seeing the orang pendek. Another guy, John Hare, is a chap we met at the 14 Times Convention, who joined up, and he was just an ordinary member, and he came along on a lot of the expeditions as well.
So basically,
Richard, I don't think I'd have ever described John Hare as an ordinary anything.
He's quite odd, isn't he? Yeah, he's quite an eccentric fellow. But Dave Archer's a fairly average sort of chap.
He's salt of the earth, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
So basically, if say for instance I was interested in doing an expedition with you, is it just a case of jump on board, pay your own flight, pay your own accommodation, and get involved?
Pretty much.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, there's limits to how many people you can take on expeditions, because we've found if we take too many people, it becomes unwieldy.
Yes,
so,
I can understand that.
It depends on what you're looking for, where you're going, and so forth.
And also, we do check people out first. We don't just take some total stranger off the street. Although I must admit that basically what happened with John Hare. We didn't know Adam, did we, Rich? He was actually this very shy little arty guy. And again, Doc Shields was. Me and Doc were at another 14 convention, drinking in the bar. And Doc's a well-known artist. And John wanted Doc to design a tattoo for him. And he came up very sheepishly and said to me, because he was too scared to approach Doc, do you think you could ask the doctor if you could do me a tattoo? And I said, of course I will, dear boy. Come on here, buy us a drink. And we all got jolly and friendly, and somehow by the end of the evening he joined the expedition team.
Oh my God. So it sounds fantastic.
Well, it's better fun than working.
We've been on all sorts of adventures, real sort of boys' own style endeavours. I've been attacked by cobras. I've fell down ice crevasses. I've fell off cliffs and been left hanging onto tree roots like Indiana Jones. I've nearly been swept away by rapids. I've been covered in leeches. I've had ticks all over me.
Okay, it doesn't sound as appetising as I thought.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, I think
it's hard going. It's very hard going.
I think Suzanne and Kat have just quit.
Oh, I can't do with bugs.
But I must admit, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I literally, because obviously, like Ghost Rider just said, it sounds a bit like Bear Grylls and these expeditions. So
yes, but we don't have a hotel to go back at.
No, I can imagine that. So I've not camped since I was a child, but I will be doing it in August. So I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy it.
I hate camping. I do it because I have to, not because I enjoy it. I never get a good night's sleep. It's awful.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, we're coming down to Bideford to see you guys.
Yeah, what's the weather like at the moment in Bideford?
Absolutely gorgeous. Poor bloody Graham's been on the roof all day fixing it. And it's so hot, he nearly got a heat stroke twice.
Oh, God. So it's dried out then from all the floods?
Oh, yes, it's been absolutely gorgeous the last few days.
And who is Graham?
Graham's CFZ Deputy Director, another old friend of mine. I've known him 25 years. He's been my deputy at the CFZ for 15 of them. So. Right.
So, as I say, I'm hoping that the weather's going to be good for that weekend. But
I'm sure it will be.
What is the weird weekend? This is your 13th one, is it?
Hang on, I've got to count up on my fingers here.
Have you got enough?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, it's 2012, 13th one, yeah. I always get confused. I'm getting to that age, I'm become a senile old git. Yes, it's our 13th one. For one weekend a year, the village in which I live becomes the strangest village in the land because all sorts of peculiar people and all sorts of esoteric researchers from all over the world bear down upon us and take over the village for the weekend. It's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to coming down.
There's still tickets available, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to come, and there's ample parking.
Oh, great. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm going to bring my Sony camera and do some interviews for future shows. Finally got hold of John Hanson, and he'll be on the show on the 8th of August. So thank you for that, John.
That's no problem.
So yes, he gave me a call, so that should be good. We're going to have a ufology night on the 8th of August, aren't we?
Yes, I might have a word with Ashley and see if he can actually come over for that one.
Yeah, so, but is it everything there on the Weird Weekend? Is it just cryptozoology, or is it weird and wonderful everything?
There's all sorts of stuff. Hang on a second, I'll get up my list of what we've got on.
Why not?
Because I'm not even going to pretend to you that I can actually remember it all.
Well, you might as well advertise it while you're here.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. It's one of the good things about doing it in front of a computer. So, Richard, if I go through the list of what's on, you can talk about some of it. It starts off with some bloke who I've never heard of, called Richard Freeman, with something called 20 cryptids you've never heard of. Richard?
Yeah, everybody's heard of the Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti and so forth. I'm going to be talking about some of the more obscure creatures like the African Lao and the Nanda bear.
And the purple rail-headed Hiva?
Yes, and possibly even the giant earwig of St. Helena.
Da-da-da-da! I love that. Those are my two favourites. Okay, we have a following on from Richard, a guy called Paul Screeton, who's got a book. He's got a book coming out. We're actually launching his book called Quest for the Hexam Heads. And if you don't know what the Hexam Heads are, you soon will. Richard, a quick 30-second overview of the Hexam Heads.
Guy, early 70s, northeast of England, digs up 2 stone heads in the garden, thinks they're ancient. Family is haunted and terrorised by spectral werewolf. Heads get given to a expert in Celtic mythology at a local museum. She sees the werewolf too. Years later, turns out the heads are made out of cement and were carved in the 1940s. What the hell's going on? Beats me.
That was a pretty succinct way of doing that, Richard. That was pretty good. And, however, the story's even more complicated than that because I've just really enjoyed typesetting it. And I've took far longer than I should have done typesetting because I was actually reading and rereading it and enjoying it massively. The Friday evening, we have a piece of cryptozoology finishing off, well, nearly finishing off the thing. We have a guy called Richard Thorns and the search for the pink-headed duck. What do you know about the pink-headed duck, Richard?
Pink-headed duck, 2 things you've got to know about it. 1, it's a duck. 2, it's got a pink head.
Gosh, I didn't know that, man.
The pink-headed duck is an Asian species of duck that was thought to be hunted into extinction, but it still might survive in remote parts of Burma. And this chap's been on the trail of it.
And I've never actually met him, but I've seen the little films he's made, and he seems like such a nice guy. And so he's actually the speaker I'm looking forward to meeting most. And then we're knocking off the Friday evening with Silas Hawkins telling us a bedtime story. Richard, over to you because you wrote the story.
Yes, it's one of the horror stories from my new Goose Flesh horror anthology, Green Unpleasant Land.
Bum, bum, bum.
You two are great together.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Okay, Saturday starts off with me and Richard being great together with an introduction to cryptozoology, which I do assume that Richard's already told you what cryptozoology is, so shall we just move swiftly on, Richard? And then we have something, I have no idea what's happening. It's Nick Wadham's Bugfest Deadly Animal Show. Richard.
Yeah, apparently he's bringing in a bunch of highly venomous snakes, large crocodiles, tigers.
Seriously?
Enraged chimpanzees, baboons.
He's got the chimpanzees drunk as well.
Yeah. Yeah, drunk chimpanzees dressed as clowns with cutthroat razors.
Yeah, this is a special show for the kids, we thought. Then after that, we've got me, Richard, and our friend Lars Thomas, who's a Danish zoologist, who are talking a bit. We're talking about the stuff we're doing locally, not just with the big cat sightings, but other weird animals locally. And Lars is setting up the scene for kids nature walks. He's going to be doing over the weekend with the local children. He's going to come back at intervals and show everybody what they found. And last time we did a nature walk, it was just around the field that the village hall's in, and Richard found 2 snakes. So that's going to be quite fun, I think.
What's this about?
Then that's followed by that. We have a young lady called Harriet Wadham, who's one of our authors, who's, I think she's 12. She might be 13 now. I'm terrible about these things. She's signing copies of her book, and then she's followed on by another old friend of us, guy called John McGowan, talking about large cats in Britain. Over to you, Richie Poos.
Yes, John McGowan's come on a couple of our expeditions. He's a amateur naturalist and a taxidermist. He likes stuffing things.
He likes stuffing things. Oh, we both said that at the same time.
Yeah, and he's going to be talking about big cats in the county of Dorset, and his research is into them.
And he's followed by Glenn Vaudrey, or as somebody who used to work for us insist on pronouncing it. How did he pronounce it, Richard?
Glenn Vaudrey.
And he's going to be talking about Scottish sea monster carcasses. Come on, Richard, see if you can be succinct about this one.
A number of large marine animals, usually in an advanced state of decomposition, thrown up on Caledonian shores. Most of them turned out to be rotting basking sharks, but some of them may have been something a lot stranger.
And then that's followed by Jan Bonderson talking about Greyfriars Bobby. And Richard, I don't know how to describe Jan Bonderson. He's a really smashing guy. Over to you.
Jan Bonderson is one of the world's leading experts in gout.
He actually is.
He is.
This isn't something Richard's made up.
No, he's an expert in disorders of connective tissue and particularly in gout. But he's also a Fortean, and he talks about all manner of things from basilisks to educated dogs.
When Richard says he's an expert in gout, for once this actually is completely true. He's a professor at the teaching hospital in Cardiff.
Right.
Fascinating guy, and he's Swedish, which is great fun. And that's followed by the event of the year, which is the CFZ Awards, in which we take the good, the great and the good of cryptozoology and Forteana and present them with a badly painted plastic baboon painted gold. And that's followed by Richard talking about Sumatra. And you've already heard, Richard, you've already talked about Sumatra today, haven't you?
Yeah, it'll be more in depth.
Then followed.
Yes,
then followed by the world premiere of the film, a film about the Hexham Heads, which Paul Screeton and a guy called Graham Williamson have been making for the last couple of years. And then there's another bedtime story from Silas Hawkins, and we all go to the bar. In fact, then what usually happens on the Saturday night, the weird weekend, is despite the fact I tell everyone I'm going home early, selection of international academics end up in my kitchen trying to burgle my liquor cabinet.
Oh, right. I heard something about a cocktail party.
Well, Richard, This is the most amazing social event of the season, isn't it?
Does it start it all?
Yeah, that's on the Thursday before the Weird Weekend actually starts, as a cocktail party in John's Garden.
Which is all very civilised.
Will it be in the evening by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Even we don't start drinking in the morning.
No, the reason why I ask is because we are travelling down on the Thursday.
Well, my dears, the two of you are very, very welcome.
Why, thank you. Because we're bringing Gary down with us. Remember your colleague that you've been talking to over the internet?
Oh, I'm looking forward. I've never met him.
No.
I've never met him. He just seems a nice guy. Gary Taylor.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him.
Yes.
Then Sunday, we start off with Richard Muirhead. How do you describe Richard Muirhead, apart from the fact I've known him since he was 6 and I was 11. His mother and my mother used to play tennis together in Hong Kong 40 years ago. And he's talking about the flying snake of Namibia. Richard.
A large python-like snake, allegedly with bat-like wings and glowing light in its head, that has terrorised a number of both natives and white settlers in the African country of Namibia, and was believed in by Marjorie Courtney Latimer, the discoverer of the coelacanth.
And that's all totally true. Richard's not making any of that up. It's a really good one. Followed by Ken Goodman, another one of our authors, and we are launching his book. Oh, by the way, on Saturday we're launching the Scottish Sea Monster Carcass book. I forgot to say that. And on Sunday we're launching a book called UFO Warminster, Cradle of Contact. And I'm sure Kevin will do an interview for you or maybe come on your show with you. He's a good guy. His book is very well written. It's very, very interesting. So I'm not going to ask Richard to describe him because Richard knows nothing about UFOs, hasn't read the book, but I have. So, and it's followed on by Ronan Coghlan, the last proper speaker of the weekend. Richard, how do you describe Ronan? He's
a feckless rogue. He's a feckless rogue.
Feckless rogue.
Yeah. Ronins are masterless wandering samurai, so he must be an Irish masterless samurai.
Yes, of course he is, Richard. And the trouble is, he was supposed to be writing his autobiography for us, and he sent me along the first 3 chapters, which ended up with him claiming that he'd been kidnapped by Chinese pirates at the age of 11. So Ronan talks worse nonsense than Richard does. But he meant to tell him, oh, he does. He's a massively intelligent classical scholar. And he is going to be talking about the myths and legends of Sinbad the Sailor. And he emailed my nephew David, who's the technical director of the Weird Weekend. He's sitting next to me at the moment. Hang on, I'm just going to hand you over to David. Dave,
okay.
What was it Ronan said he wanted as a technical?
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
He started off with a very simple request for a map of the Indian Ocean, then went on in his usual way to ask for a troupe of Arabic dancing girls in scantily clad costumes.
Oh, right. And you are David, sorry, I didn't catch your surname.
David Phillips.
Pleased to meet you, David. Pleased
to meet you.
And yes, David's my nephew, and he is in pole position to take over being the ringmaster of this circus when I finally drop down dead or drink myself to death or get abducted by aliens or whatever.
Oh,
or hopefully get abducted by the Arabic dancing girls that David is, I'm sure, going to provide. I mean, he's 20.
Which way would you prefer to go, John?
What way would
but anyway, that's Ronan, and then following Ronan, you have a quick 10-minute speech from me, wrapping the weekend up, and then there was a meal in the evening, and that's basically what happens.
What are your views on ufology? Shabba's asking, if you wouldn't mind.
What am I? I'm actually the editor of a magazine called UFO Matrix. I think that for anybody to say that they don't believe in UFOs is ridiculous, because we've all seen the things that are flying unidentified and certainly objects. I've seen things that are within what most people would describe as UFOs. I've seen a flying triangle over my garden. I've seen at least one conventional-looking flying saucer. What these things are, I don't know, but I've dedicated quite a lot of my life to trying to find out. I don't think that the answers are anywhere near as simple as most people think they are. I think that to try to explain it all with one explanation is simplistic, and it doesn't work like that. I think there are dozens of different explanations because there are dozens of different phenomena involved. But yes, I believe in UFOs. I'm very interested in the subject. I don't believe quite a lot of the stuff that people write about UFOs, but that's another story entirely.
Shabba follows on and says, do you think they are alien or top secret?
Depends how you describe aliens. I think that the things people see fulfill the same role now as the fairies, goblins, and elves that people reported from centuries ago. It's the same phenomenon. Do I think that they are flesh and blood aliens that come from a solid planet X number of light years away? No, I don't. Do I think it's a very real phenomenon that has been with us forever? Yes, I do.
Right. Okay.
And do I think government's lying to us? Well, duh. That's what governments do, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, that was quite funny though, wasn't it?
It was. I nearly had to leave the room.
Yes, definitely.
I was laughing so much and trying not to laugh on the mic.
Yeah, that was just. I think that was just before you had your operation, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And then I went from
yes. To nothing at all.
Well, the occasional.
Then on the 29th of August, we had Mark Rosney in, who's been in quite a few times. Our friend Mark.
Yes, I would like to thank Mark and Dave. Is it that came in when I wasn't here, and Mr. Neil.
Yes.
That covered for the night for us. And,
yeah, Dave Shirley that was.
And did a good show.
Yes, definitely. Well, Mark joined us with his good friend John Hall from Liverpool when we interviewed Tony Topping just before you went into for your op.
Yes, Tony's quite
interesting,
quite excitable person.
Yes, and very interesting. So
and very, very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable.
Yeah. Tony likes an argument.
Yes.
Not in a bad way.
No.
But he likes getting there, and he's one of those that if you can prove him wrong, he'll say. Well, I have to think about that one.
Well, here's Tony is explaining a little bit about himself, and as I said, you can always listen to the full interviews of any of our shows over on YouTube on our KTPF Community Show channel. So we'll see you after this.
Online and on air, keeping the paranormal friendly.
Suzanne, while you're doing that, I haven't quite finished talking to Red
Death?
Red Death, yeah. Now, I was going to say, Red Death, if you're interested in what the lads are doing, they're actually on Facebook. They've got their own Facebook page. Just type in Para Projects and you'll find that. And I've got my own page on Facebook as well, which is Planet Preternatural, which you can easily find as well. So you can keep up with what we're all up to from that one. As for myself, I'm currently I'm working on 3 books. 2 which are paranormal, 1 isn't, and I'm also doing quite extensive research on EVP as well, which hopefully I'll be publishing in the not too distant future. So that's me. Yeah.
That's Mark. Yeah, hold on, I'll just put you live on the air if you don't mind. 2 seconds. Okay then, Mr. Tony Topping, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, can you hear me now? Good evening.
Right, I'm hoping everyone can hear you live in the chat room. We can hear you here, okay?
Yeah, fine.
Good stuff.
Okay, so hopefully everyone can hear you.
Yep, they're coming up.
Okie dokie.
They can hear you.
We've gone back to basics. I'm holding the telephone up to the mic. This is old school, this isn't it, Mark?
It works, don't knock it. Yeah,
it definitely works. Right, okay, Tony Topping, you have a website, and we've had a quick look on your website, and various things. Now, can you just explain who you are and where you fit into this weird world of paranormal, supernatural, and other strange phenomena?
Okay, well,
I was from about 1970 onward. I've had extreme paranormal experiences, and it wasn't until about probably 1996 that I had my first real UFO encounters. And as a result of that, I started around about the age of 2. I had something walk through a wall, and I remember quite vividly trying to scream out to my father, I can see it now, and communicate with him that something's walked through a wall, and he didn't understand and didn't notice, and I tend to have a photographic memory for people, places and events. So really the paranormal and the strange experiences that I've had, and believe me, I've had a few, have catapulted me into the media, and I ended up appearing on Channel 4, and I ended up doing work for Talk Sport and on the UFO situation, and I ended up I recently did something for BBC 3 regarding the 7/7 bombings, which could prove to be hugely controversial. So as a result of my UFO experiences, and I'm doing this very condensed, I also received harassment as well. That all kicked off in about 1999 and was filmed by unmarked helicopters and all that kind of thing. And as a result of that, I had to begin to research into the UFO subject very deeply, and I'm going deeper and deeper now than I've ever done before. And I've ended up also studying espionage and the world of esoteric and paranormal espionage, because it actually has a bearing, believe it or not, on the UFO phenomena. And there's some interesting data that the remote viewers in the US military and even the Russian KGB, all these guys, they went off-piste with the remote viewing, speaking to aliens. It's hard to believe that the Russian KGB actually developed a method of channeling aliens under precise conditions, known as new cosmology. Mm-hmm. Which is and what they did is they developed a unit called Troop 1003, which was Russia's remote viewing unit at the height of the Cold War. And remote viewing is about the subconscious mind seeing beyond the normal senses, as it were. In certain, some would say it's the other, but it's mainly the use of the subconscious mind. So I studied that, hence me becoming a bit of a specialist in the old espionage, the esoteric paranormal espionage and UFOs. It's been no fun. Sometimes it's nearly driven me to the edge of insanity and back. What you see and read in the media about UFOs and alien contact is far removed from real life. Real life is very different to what you've got loads of people out there channeling. You've got loads of people out there writing books about UFOs. Even Whitley Strieber talking about his UFO experiences with the visitors. It does not, real life UFOs and the people behind them is very far removed from what you might read. And so that's really me in a nutshell, and I haven't really prepared anything this evening. I've just come in on on a total improvised thing, and I'm just kind of, that's what my research has taken me to India. Mm-hmm. And the research coming out of India is absolutely wild regarding UFOs. The India, which is probably one of the most powerful esoteric nations on the planet, has got a grasp of the UFOs and situation. I mean, for example, this drove me wild with this, but some scientists in India have concluded that a certain star cluster called the M15 star cluster is populated. And what they see each star system as a region of governance. So whereas we see planet Earth, they see a star system as a region of governance, controlled by an administration. Now that I find mind-blowing, but it's the kind of concepts that they're thinking about in India at the moment in order to understand what these UFOs are about. And I think they're one of the countries that is actually speaking and liaising with them. And only last week, about 2 weeks ago, last week I had a UFO incident over the house where they kept coming in again. One came in a little bit low for comfort, and it's quite an apparent occurrence now. So it's as if I'm subtly being climatized, getting used to the fact that there are people behind these UFOs that are not of this earth, not even of this dimension, and why should we apologize for that? We're living in a high-tech world. We have high-tech computer technology that is obviously back-engineered At some point, I've been threatened to be sued by somebody who was involved in all that just recently. Actually, I won't go into details, but he threatened the screaming abdabs on me because obviously, in my research, I've probably stumbled across a load of things. It's a bit like Eric Sykes and the plank, that comedy where he's walking along the street with a plank, knocking everybody over. That's me, I think, in a nutshell. So that's really in a very condensed version of events that I can certainly expand on. But that's basically the gist of it. And the key to it is that what you read about regarding UFOs and what people are channeling, it's just out there. It's just different, entirely different to what real life. It's a bit more scarier than that.
So to quote one of your topics, you really have accidentally walked into the world of 007.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I have done. I've accidentally walked into the world of 007 on a couple of occasions. I've been followed. I've had mysterious people, and for some reason they've always been female. But I've had for some reason they've always been female as well. But they've always been of the we're from the we're from the intelligence services kind of thing. And in fact, oddly enough, the British Army on their website have got a thing called waltzing. Professional waltz, which stands for Walter Mitty, and so there's kind of like I'm involved in some kind of commercial broadcasting projects, one of which will be about kind of that kind of subject. Eventually, when it gets off the ground, it's about people called waltz, and these guys in the British Army have a waltz unit whereby they send out waltz hunters to detect people who are Walter Mitty wannabe army people.
Yeah.
And they're very good at it as well, because there's guys claiming fraudulent stuff going on, and there's guys claiming to be secret agents and causing a trail of mayhem in people's lives. So that similar scenarios have happened to me where I've been followed. I've had somebody claim that they work for MI5 and told me a load of stuff. Well, not a load of stuff, really. A very condensed thing about July the 7th. And what happened there, but the thing is, at the end of the day, after I experienced what I experienced with the BBC, and that'll be on in October regarding the 7/7 bombings and all that, about the conspiracy and whether it was true or not, the experiences of that week of filming with the BBC will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, we could talk to Tony for 12 months, I suppose, and not talk about the same thing.
No, he's coming back in 2013 as well.
Cool.
As with most of our guests.
Because he had to cry often recently.
Yes.
Because
he had other commitments.
I think he had filming commitments somewhere, didn't he?
Yes, down in London.
Was due to do a programme, because he was going to stop over, so...
This is it. Well, we've had, as I say, quite a few guests on, and quite a few recurring guests like Steve Miera. From Mappit, and our very own Neil Munnelly and Mark Rosney.
Yeah. Who was our next group came on?
Our next group was Sixth Sense. Came on with Nigel Mortimer. Nigel Mortimer spoke to us about the portal.
Yes,
and his new book.
Sir Isaac Newton and the Secret Sundial.
Yes,
I'll collect me the old pennies later, Nigel.
That was in September as well.
Yes, and we got invited down to on one of their invests down at the Galleries of Justice.
Definitely. We're going to let Nigel tell you a little bit about his portal, and also you can hear from Sixth Sense from Nottingham tell you a bit about their group as well.
The KTPF Paranormal Community Radio Show.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Nigel Mortimer with us, and he's got a very interesting story to tell us. Nigel, are you there, my love?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me, Suzanne?
I can hear you. Can everybody hear him in the chat room? Oh, I'm coming into view. Oh, I think I am anyway.
Yes, they can all hear.
Right, okay. Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I'm fine, Suzanne, thank you. Nice to meet all the team in there as well. Daz, John.
I'm here somewhere. I'm trying to get in the picture. Hang on, let's move back a bit. Right, okay. I'm here somewhere. Here you go. I'm here. Look. Sit me arm again. I'm just an arm, aren't I, at the end of the day? Right, well, good evening, Nigel. We've got Daz and John and Kelly with us from Sixth Sense Paranormal. They've had a look at your website. But first of all, can you just introduce yourself? Now, you've been a ufologist. You've also been a paranormal investigator. So can you just give us a brief background about you and bring us up to date with her?
Yeah, certainly. Yes, Suzanne. It's a long story, but I'll cut it as short as I can. I mean, we're talking 30-odd years here, and I seem to have been around forever. But my main interest was in ufology, really, which started in 1980 after having quite a close encounter, an experience which did change my life completely. Up until that time, I was like many people, that have never had encounters. I was quite sceptical about anything to do with UFOs or ghosts or paranormal. But after the experience in the sort of following years, I started to notice that I was developing a psychic ability. It was another 4 or 5 years before I understood where this had really taken me. And in that time, I'd obviously contacted UFO groups like Bufora to try and find out basically what I'd seen. What I realised fairly quickly was that the people behind these groups wanted to share the experience I'd had. So I almost got, without trying, promoted to being a lecturer, a speaker for many of the organisations around the country. But all the time I was doing this, I was a ufologist, but all the time really I had a bit of a hidden agenda. I was trying to find out what I'd seen. Had anybody else had the same experience, same type of UFO that's been seen, and that. Eventually, sort of 1990-ish, I actually started, through various sort of coincidental happenings, to channel an entity that was behind the experience. That led me to investigate other strange occurrences around the Oakley Moor area. One of the chaps that's in your chat room tonight, you mentioned earlier, Churak. He's a good friend from way back. He's actually lived in the Oakley Moor area while I was doing my investigations there at that time. So he's put there, hi Nige, mate. I mean, he's testament to what went on at that time. And I mean, it was an amazing experience where not only was I in contact with what I call a celestial being, very humanoid, very ancient, and it gave me so much information that I was able to test it, basically. It wasn't just sort of where you could write something down and tell people this is what so-and-so has channeled to me. You could actually test this information time and time again. And I had visions on Oakley Moor of things that I'd never thought would happen. One of them, for example, was a vision of a golden sword that appeared at a stone circle. The stone circle, actually, John Hall, you guessed that you had on last week, mentioned about Paul Bennett finding the stone circle. Well, the full story behind that, which is in a booklet that I've written 4 or 5 years ago, called The Circle and the Sword. The story behind that was that actually my guide, who's this celestial being behind the UFO experience called Charlotte, actually led us to the stone circle. It wasn't just a coincidental happening. It was actually information that took us to the site. And once the site was recognised, all sorts of people started having experiences there. It's a long, long story. Like I say, so many strange things that took place.
Now, you've been looking for these interdimensional portals. Now, are we talking vortexes or are we talking something completely different?
Right. From what I've gathered over the last couple of years while I've been looking into this, and I've got to stress this, that the portal that we have here in Settle, it's North Yorkshire where I'm based at, where we have this portal area, what I'm gathering the information about is that they're not just small, areas 10 by 10 or something like that. They are vast areas, these portals, with many vortexes, what you might call smaller areas, within the areas themselves. And when you look at the landscape, when you look, anywhere in the world, basically, you'll find that there are all these sort of portal areas based at different locations on the energy grid of the world. You've probably heard of that. Now, the one we've got here in Settle, it is one place, but it's made up of many, many other recognised vortexes within that place. I'll try and explain a little bit. One of the places in particular that is very, very active is called Castleberg. It's an area where there's a massive rock in Settle, and in the woodland that's below it, hidden away, is one of these sort of small vortexes where strange things do happen. We get, ball of light phenomena. Recently, we're getting really strange sort of apparitions appearing in the woods there. But if you go right across the valley to the other end of the actual portal itself, you'll find there's a place called Giggleswitch Chapel. Now, time and time again, we found that these smaller vortexes are actually built on stone circles. And it's my theory that these ancient circles were laid down by Neanderthal man as markers to actually show us, you know, in time where these vortexes are. They are literally time gates, yeah.
Yeah. Reiki Debs is asking in the chat room, are these like the ones in outer space?
There have been recently, NASA, I don't know if you're aware, the group NASA have actually stated that there are vortexes actually being, you know, observed near the sun, and they are going to work towards trying to look at these. But it's a million miles away from what we understand as being vortexes. What I think is really important is, and it really intrigued me, this is what Steve mentioned right at the beginning of your show, is that all this, you know, this anticipation that we've got for 2012 and how the world may change. Now, you've got to be, you know, sensible about this. Yeah, I can't see any great massive change. It's all been, you know, talked about, these prophecies about, you know, like 2000 and things like that things are going to change in a big way. Without a shadow of doubt, if you look at the world today, there's such an increase in the last couple of years of how countries are changing, never mind people, individuals. The whole process of how we look at the world is actually altering rapidly. And the old ways of looking at things, people call it the Great Awakening, you know, but the old ways of looking at things are there for everybody to see. And I just think that these portals and these vortexes are just another example of that.
And you say you found proof, evidence of these?
Proof in the photographic and the video evidence that we're trying to put together, yeah, but also the very fact that if these are nothing, why did the British government 400 years ago, this one that we found here in Settle, try to actually cover up the fact that one exists here? And I've brought a book out, you know, that's coming out in a couple of weeks' time, that shows that it was a really important site at one time. There's so much occult and hidden knowledge that connects with the site that without a shadow of a doubt, you know, this place back in the 1600s, it's recorded history that they actually tried to, the government, obviously we had no, you know, cameras at that time, we couldn't record things in that way, but they tried to get the public, just as we get disinformation today, the public to swallow hook, line and sinker, that the portal was nothing more than just a carving on a rock, a sundial. Now, they got a local artist called Samuel Buck to actually do an engraving of this, an official engraving commissioned by the British government to show people what this sundial was. And if you look at the records, the local records, it was nothing like that at all. I mean, to cut a long story again short, and all the details there in the book, we found out eventually that it was a line of standing stones. Yeah. Again, an ancient site, which looked nothing like the actual engraving.
Wow.
Hi, Nigel.
Hi, that's Steve, yeah.
I was wondering while you were talking there that maybe with these portals we need to find the key. Maybe it's the way that our ancestors used to move from one area to another, following the energy lines from one portal to another. Do you think that's possible?
I think you're spot on there, Steve. I do think the actual this is where it reaches out into sort of the weirder realms, really. But I do think that when we think about the ancients, you know, the Neolithics that actually put down these stone circles and standing stones on the energy lines that you talk about there, Steve, I think you have to go back, and I'm only going by information that's been channeled to me, so it's very difficult, you know, to actually prove this at this point. But we really need to get our head around, and it's an egotistic thing, I think, to think that we know everything about our own history. I wouldn't be, with any shadow of doubt, when you look at the length of time that this planet has been here, that you know, there's been 2 or 3 civilizations that have reached points where we've just forgotten about. And I do think that we're talking about a first people, I call them in the book, who pre-Atlantean even, you know, they were a race that developed a different way, not a technological way, but a different way, almost a psychical way of looking at the world that they lived in, and were able to actually use, not only, you know, find these areas where these vortexes are, but actually use them to actually communicate with beings from other dimensions and other worlds. And I think the knowledge of that was passed down, Steve, to the Neolithics, some of them, maybe the wise priests in time. But obviously, like everything, through times, things get changed, and a lot of this hidden knowledge was, you know, locked away. But I do think that the markers, I think the stone circles and the standing stones are definitely markers of these portals. Yeah.
Nigel, just hi there, I'm Darren. Just one thing that sort of comes to me with all this is that there's certainly a huge tie-in, I think, with for example, obviously how the Romans obviously put their, the buildings together, and obviously, you look back at the Egyptians and some of the constructs that, with the pyramids and all this sort of stuff. I mean, you look at the Romans, the way they built cities and you sort of think now that how difficult that would be, almost, the realms of impossible to put something like that together without the sort of, tools, etc., and equipment that we now have in terms of construction. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago, and obviously it still amazes me today. I mean, I went to Cyprus recently looking at some of the old archaeological digs, and you look at some of the old Roman villages, etc., that, there's still a lot of remains of today, and you still stand in awe thinking, how are these huge cities and huge buildings and such like put together right back in those days, and you think, is there some kind of tie-in here as to how they actually put those things together and how they moved about? What's your thoughts on that?
Right, is it okay to call it Daz? Is it Daz?
It is, yeah.
Hi, Daz. Yeah. I mean, I think again, I have to sort of look at the actual information that is there in front of your face, and without a shadow of doubt, when you look at the pyramids, for example, at Giza, I think it was back in the 1990s, the ones, I don't know who it was, but I think it was an Egyptian authority that actually tried to build, if you saw on TV, tried to build a scaled model in the desert of the Great Pyramid, but they had a job on, actually building one without any passageways inside it, and getting the workforce to, obviously to replicate slaves and things. It just didn't work. They ended up bringing mechanical diggers in and things, and still couldn't have packed it in. I remember that.
That's right. Yeah, there was a program I watched recently actually where they was trying to recreate the Parthenon. I don't know if you obviously they've been trying to restore that now for years. And one thing that really amazed me was they actually found, after so many years of trying to reconstruct this huge, magnificent building, that actually, for example, the columns of the Parthenon were in fact not completely parallel in terms of the construct of them. They found that that they were actually bellowed out in the centre of each column to actually withstand the weight and the pressure on the building. And they found this out after such a long time in trying to put this back together, and they found that actually it was so minute as far as the bellow of the column, that they found that if they actually put these on each end, end to end, it would actually go over a span of about a mile or something, to get the curvature, to make full 360 circle, which was amazing. But that was something it took us a long time to find out, and even now, it's taken us years and years to actually restore something that back then, looks to be something that they easily put together.
Yeah, dead right. I mean, again, it's what you say there. It's our ability, it's our ego actually, that we think that we can replicate these things with ease because of the technology we've got today, but it's not as you just explained really well there, Does. I just need to mention that shortly after the experience I told you about back in November 1980, I was shown actually by the celestial beings a vision of ancient Egypt, and since then, I mean, this wasn't really sort of talked about much back in those days, but I've watched, over the internet and programs and things since then. And what I saw, I was shown by this really elegant lady. I presume she was an Egyptian of some kind, which I never was allowed to see her face in the vision. But I was shown how they actually moved the blocks, the great granite, the blocks into place. And it was definitely done by sonics and sounds, vibrations, a lot of it. There were people like we have today that are actually working there, carving and moving these stones around by hand as well. It wasn't just all done in that way. But there was certainly a different knowledge available to people, a knowledge that we're still really trying to understand today. And the problem is that I feel that we've got is that, I mentioned ego, but we also got this lack of real understanding, which has got lost along the way. There are people, believe you me, because I've come across them in this research I've been doing for the book, who do know, and I'm talking about the secret societies, Freemasons, them type of that have kept this knowledge in place. They know how this all works, but like everything, they keep it all well hidden away.
Right, can I just stop you there a minute, Nigel? There was something we forgot to mention to people in the chat room. Okay, now we need you to ask some questions, which we've got some questions there for you, Nigel.
Right.
Somebody's been answering for you. I don't know whether it's you or your partner.
That's correct.
But basically, the guys here from Sixth Sense Paranormal, they've got a little bit of a competition for those that are actually in the hub, in the chat room. So would you like to tell them about it, John?
Yeah, absolutely. We basically got an event on the Gallows of Justice on Friday evening, and what we're offering is 2 free tickets to come along and join us. The only thing you have to do is we're going to choose who's asked the best question this evening, and then we're going to select a winner shortly after.
We'll leave that to Suzanne then.
Yeah, we're going to leave that to Suzanne to choose, but we're going to choose a winner shortly after Nigel's talk.
I've got a better idea.
Right, can I just say, we need people to ring up.
You can ring up as well, ring up, ask in the chat room. Anything that comes up in the chat room, we'll do our best to pass it over to Nigel. Why don't we let Nigel decide which is the best question?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be an idea, Nigel.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Right, now don't forget, if you want to ask Nigel a question, you can ask him. We might have missed some because the thing's gone up. So please type them again or ring us on 0844 414 3982. It's going along your screens at the moment, okay? And you can ask Nigel a question live on air, okay? And the best question that comes through, if Nigel thinks it was a good question, then we'll let you have the tickets.
Well, I'll go with a couple because there's something disappeared.
Yeah, there's some here that's...
Andy said that what proof do you have? He would love it to be true, but at the moment he's not quite getting it. And can you also tell us? Obviously, there'll be a lot of proof and stuff in your book. Can you tell us when that's coming out and where people will be able to get it?
Yep. Okay, Steve. I fully understand. I mean, it's such a big claim, isn't it, that these portals are real? You know, I mean, what I've tried to do is remember I was 30 years as a ufologist, and I mean, I still look on the internet today, Steve, and see that most people, all they're doing is getting sighting report after sighting report, logging them, and having a look at them, investigating them, then logging them all away. Where are we going to go for the next 10, 20 years doing that? Are we going to get anywhere? Also, we need to thing. That's why I moved away from that slightly, and the information that started coming through my guide, Channel 2, mate, to show me that there are other ways of actually looking at this problem and this, any paranormal problem really, and that's that we can receive information, and these portals, one of the places that it does happen. I'll give you a little idea of something that did happen recently, Steve, and then I'll go on to about the book. Helen, my wife, who's on here tonight in the chat room, she's tested me to some of these things because she's been with me many times at these vortexes in the woods, and she's never ever in all the time I've known ever received any sort of channeled information. Yet she started, this is a few months back, started automatically coming out with words that just sounded ridiculous at the time. I mean, I can't remember them. They are in the book. There's something like seraphim, meraphon or something, but they all sounded very strangely Latin. So we made a, obviously we're videoing this, and we made a record of it, went back and got various people we knew to check these words out, and they're actually it's a real sentence.
You keep cutting out a bit, basically. Nigel.
Right, can you hear me?
Yeah, you keep cutting out every now and again.
Right.
Right, we'll see what happens. Just
keep going.
Keep going though, Nigel.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if you got that about it, that Helen started picking up these Latin words.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And basically we did find and check, later that these are all correct. And I'll just give you briefly what the sentence means, what came up. It was basically telling us that the world has the chance of becoming something completely different, but it also could go that it's returning to Babylon, which, you can make what you want of that. But that is basically what these beings that were channeling this information through Helen has never done it before, but at the portal that came through. Now, that is in the book, and we explain all about that. Plus, I did mention to you briefly about the curse that, when I started looking into this, that came upon me, made me very ill last year. It was a spirit entity that tried to challenge me in the vortex, called Jeremiah. He came through to me, and he did say that if I carried on trying to find out any more information about this, it turns out he was one of the original people that tried to hide back in the 1700s the fact that the portal had been hidden. But you know, I've always thought this. I've not been gullible. I've always thought, well, why would he want to curse me? Can we really be cursed? I've never thought he can be. But after I was ill, which, you know, it wasn't wishful thinking, believe you me. I mean, I was very, very ill. I was rushed to hospital in an ambulance at 4 o'clock in the morning, not being able to breathe. So it was something that wasn't just made up. Now, thinking about it later on, though, and knowing what I know about how these entities operate within the portal, I wouldn't be surprised that we're talking about distortion of time here, in that I was going to get ill anyway. Yeah, that would happen whether I've been involved in this or not.
Yeah.
But these entities do know what's going to happen ahead of the time.
Yeah.
And they just adapt the threat of the curse to that. That's in the book as well. The book itself, you know, it's called Sir Isaac Newton and the Settled Sundial. It's going to be available in about 3 weeks' time, and it will be on sale, general sale in shops and on Amazon.
Right, okay. Well, hi, Helen. Thank you for answering some of the questions in the chat room, my darling. And there are a few more. Is there anything you wanted to ask, John?
Yeah, it's a question that anyone who works in the paranormal will have experienced on a day-to-day basis. As no matter what field you study, there's always the skeptics out there, especially when you're talking from a spiritual level. So what I want to know is how you respond to the skeptics, because I'll give you an example. We specialise in the paranormal, anything supernatural. So we have mediums working for us. So, for instance, a medium makes a claim. Our guests then need to see some evidence to back it up. So what we're trying to do is provide some evidence to back up what the mediums, the claim that the mediums made. So, and that's our way of arguing against the skeptics, for instance. I'm wondering what would be your method of arguing against a skeptic, because, you know, from an onlooker's point of view, obviously they will read your book, they will look at, you know, they will listen to how you've channeled maybe an energy or a being or a spirit, but they would possibly look at it from a skeptical point of view as, where's the hard evidence for them? What would be your argument for that?
My argument is, I recommend anybody, you know, this isn't a sale. I'll send you one free of charge, a copy to have a look at. My argument to that, because obviously I've been around, and I don't get me wrong. Remember, I used to be a skeptic, I do understand people that are skeptical, and it's their right to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is such a big claim that I don't expect anybody, even after reading the book, I can imagine, you know, people are going to have big questions. But that's why it's going to be ongoing. It won't just come and go away. I'll be working at these portals a long time now, and you know, we're going to try and get as much evidence. And I'm asking, actually, I don't know if you've seen this on Facebook on my page. I'm asking people that you know, fellow ufologists, paranormal investigators, to get over here and come over to the portal and test it for yourselves. That's the thing. It's no good me just saying that it's.
I want to.
Yeah, I think we'd certainly be interested in having a look at that.
Well, you've got 5 here, Nigel.
Absolutely.
We'd you're very welcome. You know,
So anyway, we've got some more questions in there.
We've got three questions.
Yeah, do you want to go through them?
Ghost Rider said, would you say that a portal would be a bit like a Stargate?
Yes, Steve. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that, you know, the Stargate films and things came about with this sort of idea. I don't think it's as simple as that. I really do believe that we can travel through energy. We are all energy, and we can travel through these portals. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's quite as simple as that. What I'm getting is the people from the past that knew about the one that's here in Settle were talking more about Merkabahs and that type of thing. You know, actual energies that we can create and travel within.
Right, Reiki Deb says, how many portals have you discovered?
She also asked earlier, have you thrown anything into it as well?
Sorry, Sue, I've missed the second part.
Right, she's asking if you've discovered, how many you've actually discovered, but she was asking earlier whether you've actually thrown anything into the portal.
All right, yeah. Do you know, I get asked that loads of times. Either that or me actually going through it myself and see what's at the other side, you know, which I haven't quite done that yet either.
Why not?
No, what we are working on at the moment, I'm working with a lady in Germany who's found that some of these portal sites, that it is something to do with some of the crystalline structure of the rocks in the area. that are giving off a certain energy. It is known in this country as Celestine, funnily enough, which connects with angels and things like that.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to conduct some experiments, my wife and I, in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to the vortex site in the woods. We call it the horseshoe trees, and we're going to try different types of, vibrations with music, different sound, bring up some crystal. We're going to try all sorts of different things and just see which of these does work. It may be that we're just complicating matters, and that's what I'm a bit worried about, to be honest with you. But you've got to try everything, and we will do. Yeah.
Can you tell us about Sixth Sense Paranormal?
They've disappeared.
Nigel just said they've just appeared in his house.
They've just appeared in his house.
Yeah. Can you send them back, please,
Yeah,
Nigel?
can you send them back? Can you send them back, Nigel, please? Are they coming back? I think they are. I think I just heard them. Hey up! Thanks,
Hey up,
Nigel.
Nigel. They've
Cheers,
reappeared.
Nigel. That was
They've
great.
reappeared.
We have Nottingham's very own Sixth Sense Paranormal. Hello again. Right, okay, guys.
Tell us about yourselves.
Tell us about yourself. Who are you? How did you start? Sort of tell me.
Okay, we're all kind of. We all came from.
We're all rejects, aren't we? Really?
Rejects.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
We're all. We've all been in the paranormal industry for quite some time.
What I normally like to say is we got our experience from another group.
Yes, that's correct. But we came together as a team because we all had unique skills. So I'm just gonna go through the team and I'll give you a brief explanation of what each team member does.
Okay.
And we're trying to do things a little differently now. We firstly we're trying to work with as many other groups out there as we can.
Yeah.
And we're working very closely with one group, and Charmaine's actually on the in the chat room tonight, and that's The Haunting, and they're Leicester's own very own company, very good company. We went on an investigation with them last week. But yeah, I've told them I'd give them a shout while I'm on here. But no, all about Sixth Sense Paranormal. We are a 50-50 split between spiritual and scientific. So we are for our paranormal assistance side of the operation, we are in application stages of being a TAPS family member, and it's purely because of how we operate. We don't just send a medium in there to give an explanation of what's happening. We try and back it up with evidence as much as possible. We try and debunk any activity.
Yeah.
Now it's quite handy with the skills we've got on board. So we've got. I'll start off with myself first. I'm John. I am the parapsychic medium. Although I am a techie. In my day job, I work in IT. I love anything technical. So again, although I work on a spiritual level, I do bring the element of tech in there as well. Obviously, we've got Kelly, who sits somewhere in the middle. So Kelly is very sensitive. She wouldn't class herself as a medium, but she is
literally on the couch. Yeah,
she wouldn't yet class herself as a medium, but she is in development, and she does see auras, and she's she's very psychic for a start. Then we move down to Darren. Darren is Darren's the one that tries to disprove every claim I make. Okay, he's very scientific. He is a believer in the paranormal purely due to the experiences he's encountered. He can't question it, but he will look for any possibility other than paranormal. When there is no explanation, that's when he'll declare it as paranormal.
It works well for us, doesn't it? Because I think with any company that does this sort of stuff, it's always good to keep a almost scientific head on what's happening and the events of the night. And whilst obviously we all believe, obviously we're all part of this and have been for some time, and we've all had our own experiences, but to add a scientific level to it just keeps us grounded a little bit as far as what's happening. And sometimes it's far too easy to say, oh, that's paranormal, that's spirit, and sometimes there's a perfectly good claim for what it is, and it's not always paranormal. So we try and keep that edge to it as well, which I think we found a lot of people do appreciate.
Absolutely, and then if you think about the rest of the team, so we've got, I'll mention the rest of the team as well. We've also got Julie. She's actually one of our mediums as well. Very good medium. She's a fantastic paranormal investigator, taking away the medium side. She specialises in psychometry. She's a clairseeing and a clairaudient, naturally, but psychometry is one of her greatest skills. And then we've just taken on a new trainee investigator. We've got a young lady called Lindsay. I met her at a private reading, to tell you the truth. I went to do a private reading for her. Noticed how sensitive and psychic she were, but she's never had any true development, and she was kind of obsessed with the paranormal, but never had the chance to be involved. So I've invited her onto the team as a trainee, and we're going to help her develop her skills. We're going to start purely by teaching her to be an investigator first.
Yeah,
because we think that's
always first.
Yeah, we think that's the most important side. But then as a sideline, I will be helping her develop skills and developing further. And then finally on the team, we've got a guy who works behind the scenes on the promotions called Mark. And he's coming on his first ghost hunt with us on Friday, so we're hoping to scare the hell out of him, if possible. But yeah, and that's the team. As I say, we do maybe 1 or 2 events a month. We try and do some good locations, but we also concentrate on paranormal assistance. So anybody who has any issues in their home, we will go out there free of charge to give advice and to help out if we can. I will say that maybe 7 or 8 times out of 10 that there's no paranormal activity in a household.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you guys have experienced that. We have had some quite severe cases that we've dealt with, but again, 9 times out of 10 there's another explanation for it.
But even if there is a scientific explanation, it can be a big relief for people.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
you can help them just as much as you can spiritually by debunking something natural.
Oh, this is it. Very nice group, Sixth Sense.
Yes. Who was it that said that one of them had a nice bum? Was it one of their own people? I
beg your pardon?
Somebody in the chat room noticed that one of the guys from Sixth Sense had a nice bum. I think
it was mentioned.
I think it was just after they came back through the portal.
Yes, yes. Yeah, they seemed to disappear, wasn't it, for a moment or two?
Yeah, they weren't quite back after the...
After the interview with Nigel. Nigel said something about they'd turned up there or
no,
something.
it wasn't that. We stopped for... I think we did the events or something. And
they popped out for a bit.
They had a quick smoke.
Yes, so a little bit of a break for them. But just before they came on, it was swooning time in the chat room.
Oh, no.
We had...
not Mr. Ben Handsome, sorry, Handsome.
We had Mr. Ben Hanson on from Paranormal Files, Fact or Fate.
All the girls renamed him Handsome.
Yeah, we're going to leave you with a little clip from his interview and the fact that he's going to be joining us next year on the symposium
up in Edinburgh.
Just to let you know, the dates have changed for that. It's now starting on the 26th of August and it's running for the 7 days after that. And Ben Hanson's on it along with his colleague from the show. Bill, I think his name was. I can't quite remember now.
Yes, I know him. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, and there's quite a few people coming on, as you will hear at the latter part of the interview from Ben, and he's also going to be joining us.
There's about 65 speakers over the week, isn't there?
Yeah, both American and
British.
And British.
And various suspects.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave you with this. Right, good evening. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. And what is that?
There's somebody at the door.
There's somebody at the door.
Well, you take my mic down.
Sorry about that.
Is it your end, Ben?
Yeah, that's my my doorbell here.
All right. Do you want to go and get it?
Yeah. That was me thinking it was married.
It's all right. We got someone to get it.
Well, good evening, Ben. How are you? Or rather, afternoon.
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Ben Hanson. He is the guy from Fact or Fate, Paranormal Files, the show that has been best described as Mythbusters meets Destination Truth. And so if you want to ask him a question, he's here to do so. So, Ben, we're actually on the second series here, but I did manage to see some of the third series. But what have you actually been up to of late?
Well, you guys are behind.
Typical.
Yeah. We've aired the whole third series here in the U.S., and I think Canada was just starting. They're a little bit behind us. Australia's starting theirs this past week, I think. So, yeah, we finished filming back in June, and I've been just traveling around the country to different ghost hunting events, UFO sky watches, giving lectures, doing appearances and all that stuff, staying really busy.
Right, so, but just to go back a bit, can you just briefly tell us a bit about the show for those that haven't quite found the Sci-Fi Channel over here?
If they haven't found it, they
sure.
won't tell it off.
Well, we started filming, I guess it was 2010, and basically the show, I don't produce the show, but I was able to be on the ground level of a lot of the conception of it. And I was looking around and seeing kind of what else was on TV, and I decided that a lot of these shows are observation based, which is fine, but what that means is that they start out with a location that is allegedly haunted, and then they'll go and just wait for things to happen. And I felt like, because of my kind of background in law enforcement investigations and all that, it would make sense to maybe start with the evidence that you already have on hand. And so that kind of evolved into us doing experiments. You guys, I'm sure, have the show Mythbusters.
Yeah.
So we became kind of the Mythbusters of the paranormal, and we didn't set out to debunk things. I like to think of it more as verifying different cases. So we're able to take a look at something and look at the most reasonable or simple explanation first. And if that isn't satisfying, then we look at the paranormal.
Right. We've had a question for you from Jebby.
Can I jump in just
before, go on then, before we ask the question.
I was wondering whether, for myself, whether you actually did any investigations like this while you were still in the FBI. And like Sue was just about to say, it's a bit of a switch from the FBI to paranormal investigating. Why the switch?
Yeah, it is. It's quite a change. There's more that is, I guess, pertinent than you would think, though. I can't talk about any specific cases that I did while I was there, because I'm not sure if they've gone to court yet, and I'm really there a lot of them were national security stuff, but I can tell you it's not your routine type of a case the FBI would get involved in. However, it is public record that the FBI has done investigations into, for example, cattle mutilations in the 70s because of the outbreak. They were also involved, or requested to be involved, in flying saucer crashes. We have the Hoover documents from that.
Yeah.
So, every now and then the agency, something crosses over, anything that has to do with national security. They would be interested in that. But as far as making that transition, I always, loved both worlds. I loved working in public service. It's very intrinsically satisfying to put criminals behind bars. At the same time, I've always had this kind of passion for paranormal, but unfortunately, unless you're on TV or writing books about it, you really can't get paid for it. And I grew up, in high school and things, watching, like the X-Files. So I thought, well, why can't I have the best of both worlds? And I did leave the door open when I left law enforcement to go back there, because I love it. But this is different. For example, the boss that I have now is the audience, and it really doesn't feel like work a lot of the time.
Right.
So.
Well, I don't know whether you're actually on our webpage and seeing the chat room at all, but if you are, there's a lot of swooning going on. I must admit.
Log in there and I'll take a look at it. What's the address?
It's ktpf.co.uk and
ktpf.co.uk. Okay.
You'll see the chat room there.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I wouldn't go into the filming bit, because otherwise you'll get a lot of interference over the Skype.
You have to keep that bit quiet.
But you can see the chat room bit, and yes, notice how the women have come on alive. But are you reading all the comments in the chat room?
Yeah. I see something about a sexy voice, a nice bum. and then ask him to say hi to us ladies. So, hi, ladies.
Oh dear, I don't know. There was one there I just saw. Let's see if I can go back up. There was some questions there. Where are there any investigations that don't make it on the show? They're asking. Jebby wants to know.
Yeah. There's, well, not full cases. No, I mean once we actually go out and film, it would be too expensive for them just to scrap something.
Yeah.
We have some that aren't our favorites.
Right.
You know, where an investigation, like the experiments didn't turn out whether we liked or nothing happened in the night investigation. So you'll see on those episodes, you'll have like maybe 3/4 of the time devoted to the other,
right.
you know, case, and then a little blurb about the one that we didn't like.
Yeah, I did notice that.
I have another one for you from Mark. He popped on Skype and left me a message for you. He said, what is your opinion on orbs? Do you feel it is the first stage of spirit forming at all? Or do you think something else?
Well, orbs are an interesting thing because I think there's a tendency for people to, at least here in the U.S., they're very anti-orb, and they will say when they take a picture, all orbs are either moisture or dust, and I don't think it's that simple. I think when you have a photograph and you look at the photo later, yes, the majority by far, I believe, are some artifact, on the lens of the camera. However, there have been many cases where, you can visually see the orb, and it's not just related to ghost hunting, but we label orbs also with things that have to do with UFOs, with interdimensional being stuff. So it's really kind of hard to classify. But I've known very, very credible people tell me stories of intelligent orbs of light that will actually follow them, or have been in the vicinity of cattle or horse mutilations, where the animal looks like literally it's exploded. Orbs that are seen around crop circles, so it's kind of hard to say what it is, but it does seem that at least it might have something to do with spirits and the ghost hunting as well.
Okay, we have another question.
I have another question for you. One's actually done in Hope, I think. Debbie wants Chilan's phone number. and Sherba said, how many days do you actually film your investigation over to get these stuff for the program?
Well, if we film domestically here in the U.S., we film probably. We have, two episodes, or I'm sorry, 2 cases per episode, and each of those cases, takes up, when you take the commercials out, pretty much only 17 minutes of film, but each of that 17 minutes is filmed over roughly 4 days in the field and 2 days in the office. So, you're looking probably at about, with all the different cameras and stuff, about 70 hours of film whittled down to 17 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realise.
Yeah.
Especially, it's the same with the big show that was on over here. We actually worked it out that there was only about 15 minutes of actual investigation on the show, and that was filmed over 2 or 3 days.
Well, you got another question for you. I've got to try and get. I haven't got much time left with you, but
okay.
Dazzy from Sixth Sense said, what would you say is your best paranormal experience, maybe on the show, but you've had a lifelong fascination with the paranormal, so what is your best experience you've had?
Well, I'll give you 2. Okay. The best UFO experience I've had is I witnessed, actually here where I grew up, off the back porch with my father in Utah, and we saw an object hovering. It disappeared, moved a mile to the right. It was red and very dimly lit, and then it flew over our house and covered 12 miles in about 4 seconds. It was incredible, and I've seen a couple objects doing incredible things. With ghost hunting, there's been a few. The first time I saw object manipulation it blew me away. And that was in a cemetery in Indiana where I was hearing something like it was pacing me, and I would hear leaves crunch every time I took a step. And I took out my flashlight or torch, looked on the ground, and I saw a pile of leaves depressing in the shape of a footprint.
Wow.
So that was pretty crazy, and I've seen other objects moving, since that time.
We have our medium here with us who wants to ask you a quick question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
This
Hi,
is
Ben.
Neil.
Hi, Ben.
How's
it's
it
Neil.
going?
How you doing? You okay? I watch your program Religious, by the way. I actually tape every episode.
Well, thank you.
It was just a quick question, really. What is your take, or what is your belief on mediums?
I definitely believe that there are people who have gifts. I've run into a lot of them that if they had a gift, they seem to be more concerned with, I don't know. I'm thinking of one or two people in particular who will make predictions and things that it seems like they're just kind of randomly doing it for the financial gain. But it's sad because I think there are people who have a really a good, a benefit to not only ghost investigations, but to kind of giving people insight on their lives, and I completely believe in it.
Yeah, we had this discussion just before you come on the show, and I just wanted your version. It's very similar as what we were talking about, actually. So, thanks for that.
Well, in sci-fi, as of yet, they have not gone down that road, and I've asked them why. I don't know. They seem to feel that their viewers, that it's a different genre, it's a different world. That the psychics. They had a show here about a psychic and her family, and it kind of bombed. And I don't know if they're going to go down that road again. But we've always, kind of encouraged them to look more into that possibility.
Super. Yeah, well, Ben, you know where we are. And hopefully you'll be coming on the show before you come to the UK and give us another interview. That would be great if you could.
Oh, I'd love to. You guys are a lot of fun.
And as I say, if you ever feel like popping over and coming up and seeing us in good old Manchester, wet Manchester.
Yeah, and if you ever need assistance, there's us, and there's at least one group on the chat room that would be more than willing to give you a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's plan on it. Let's meet up and we'll do a meetup somewhere, because the times that I've been over there, you guys only had the first season, and we were trying to organize a meetup for followers of the show, but we didn't know where to go, no one to organize. So if you guys want to do that, and we can organize a hunt, ghost hunt or something before or after the conference, and let's get everyone involved.
That'd be fantastic, Ben. All right, I'll look forward to that. So,
right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, one thing I was going to say, back on the subject of the women, is that you guys, the ladies there, I lived in Australia for a year, and it's the same way there. Compared to Americans, it really annoys me the American women wear so much makeup. And when you see an attractive English woman or Australian, they're attractive because they don't have makeup, and that's how they naturally are. And so I don't know if that has anything to do with anything I've been talking about, but...
But anyway, it's been great talking to you, but just quickly, you're coming to the UK next year, aren't you?
That's the plan. There's a huge conference, the Spirits, Shadows, and I think Seekers, I think is the official title, conference. And it's in August. I don't have the exact dates. It's up on my website right now, but huge. I mean, we're talking like 50 different speakers, a lot from the U.S., a lot from the U.K., and I would love to take some extra time there. We're going to be doing like UFO sky watches. I think I'm leading a ghost hunt. I would love to just kind of spend some more time in the UK and actually go around and hang out with some of your groups and have a lot of fun.
That would be great. You'll have to contact us. The seminar is called the Spirits, Shadows and Secrets International Symposium, and it's part of the Edinburgh Fringe on August the 19th to the 25th next year. Well, thank you again, Ben. It's been fantastic. And as I say, I'd love to get you on again for another interview sometime next year or later on in the year.
Yeah. And going back to the meetup, if you can give us an area of time when you're going to be in the country, and we can see what we can do for you.
Sounds good. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, do that, Ben. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
right,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I must admit, he's on about meeting us and doing a meet and greet and everything, so that'd be good.
That was really weird. As a weird chat room.
It was.
We had all the ladies going, sexy voice, nice mum. and we had all the fellas trying to get interesting questions out, especially as Ben is ex-FBI. They were trying to see if he was into the same sort of things while he was there.
Yeah. Now, as you know, if you are a regular to our show, we do try and cover a whole genre of the paranormal. Cryptozoology, Bigfoot, big cats, which, going back to the Weird Weekend, we met...
John James?
No, it was John McGowan.
Oh, McGowan, yes.
And we actually heard a cat while we were there, didn't we?
We did. We heard... I think he said it was a
puma or something?
A puma, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he said the sound was...
Yeah, so basically we had to have him on the show talking to us about the cats that he's seen and that across the UK. So that was quite interesting.
And guys, if you've got deer in the area, you've got a big cat somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere around. So, because they are out there. Also on the shows during the year, we did cover a few other things like shadow phenomena with Steve Mera, and we also later had a young man that we met at the Weird Weekend.
Yes,
Matt.
He's writing a book on it, isn't he? So he's trying to get everybody's views.
Yeah.
And we did give out his website, email, and things, so people can pass on their stories.
Yep, we have also spoke about technology. When it comes to investigating.
Yes, we had a gentleman from the US. Unfortunately, thanks to Katrina and all the rest of it that was going on over there. Sandy, that's it, Sandy.
Well, how are you going back?
It was still a mess.
Yeah, he was a little bit late coming on, but he was an EVP expert as well.
He was indeed.
Yeah. So yeah, it was quite interesting, and we were getting him back on. That was Dave Roundtree.
Yeah, the one guy I would like to I want to get back to, and I'm sure you've already booked him, was the gentleman, the Haunted Skies, about the UFOs.
Yes, we've booked John Hansen.
Because we had another
Hansen.
Because we had a very bad Skype connection, didn't we?
Yeah, he's coming back on in January as well. Yeah. So
I would like to thank Skype as well, because on the whole we had some good connections through. We get the old ones which the people in the chat room decided to call chickens.
Chickens. We've also had a Scottish guy on from Strange Phenomena Investigations, SPI. That was Malcolm Robinson. He's due back on the show sometime next year, talking about other things, but he was talking about the Loch Ness.
Yes, we had, was it Mark and John that was with us? I know Mark was here, but I'm not sure if there's anybody else with us.
Mark was with us, yes, and he was with us, and was that? No, sorry, no, it wasn't.
It was Jebby and...
It was Jebby
and Rob.
And Rob. Just to let you know, Mark Rosney and Jebby Robinson and Rob Bethel used to be part of... Power Projects.
Jebby and Rob still are, but they've gone on.
To do their own thing.
They've stopped for a little while.
Yeah, and they are having a break, but
and they wrote a lovely book together.
Yes, they did.
Very informative.
Yeah.
A beginner's guide to ghost hunting.
Well, paranormal investigation.
Well, everybody else out there calls it ghost hunting.
And Mark Rosney is now doing his own Planet Preternatural with his partner Michelle. And plus working with Dave Shirley from the Wirral Psychic and Paranormal Workshop. Yep. So they're doing their, I think it's called Night Watch or something.
And they have the Paranormal Week, which we also went to.
Yes.
And met up again.
We've had a busy year, really.
Met up again with Mr. Dave Basnett.
Yeah, Dave Basnett, Roy Basnett. Where are you going?
I think he's been... Christmas, I've got too much to drink.
I think he's been on the grog. Remember when we had Lionel Fernthorpe on?
Oh, yes. That one amazed me. He actually admitted that Jesus must have got married.
Yes. So...
Which is... I'm afraid I called him the kick-ass Hell's Angel Vicar. Because he's a biker. He's a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
and he really loves his bike, and he's written, him and his good lady wife have written a lot of books.
Yeah. So, but as I say, we've had quite a few guests on. We've spoken about the 2012 Phenomena, which was the last show, wasn't it, with Mark Rosney, and Dave couldn't make it that time because he was ill. But yes, we've really.
Yes. And we had. I'm gonna get this wrong. I'm sure I am. But is it Sarah Green? Sandra Green?
Catherine.
Catherine. See, I knew I get it wrong. I knew there was a green lady in there somewhere.
We've had Jackie Newcomb.
Yes, Jackie, the Angel Lady.
Yes, and we've had Alison Winrider as well. One medium, which is also we've also had Mark Anthony from America. We've had really some good guests.
He's also a lawyer, defence lawyer.
Matthew Dell came on and spoke, as we said, about his shadow book that he's about shadow people. And we also had a quick snippet from Jason Carl when we went to do the his haunting weekend thing, Halloween thing. What was it called again? Scare Kingdom.
Scare Kingdom, yes.
Yeah. So please bear with us. It is Christmas.
Yes, it's been a long, busy year with lots of lovely guests.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff that, to be quite frankly, I didn't know.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'm now a bit wiser.
Yeah, it's nice to learn things as well.
I'm also wiser from people in the chat room. We've had some pretty good people. We've had some good people in there that know what they're talking about.
And if you've never been on the show before, it is interactive. We do like our people to come through and talk to our guests that are on the show and be guests themselves. Remember when we had Amy Vickers on talking about the Star Child?
We did. That was quite interesting. That was wasn't. We did actually ask for a boss, but he said that she'd be the best one.
Yes, definitely. And then what happened to Halloween? We were supposed to have gone to one place to do an outside broadcast. It didn't happen.
We ended up at Morecambe Winter Gardens.
Morecambe Winter Gardens, which I'd like to thank them for allowing us to do it there. And
yes, because we
hopefully it won't be the last one we do.
No, because we were sending people off to do
lone vigils and stuff.
Well, not really lone, because there was two of them, wasn't there?
Well, yeah.
We sent them off in twos.
Yeah. So yes, that was really good. But as I say, we will be covering a whole lot of stuff next year. As usual, and we're hoping to get a gentleman on talking about werewolves.
Yeah.
Not werewolves, zombies. I'll get it right in a minute.
Yes, we're hoping to. Is it the something rainbow? Something is it?
Serpent and the Rainbow.
Serpent and the Rainbow. There's to do with all that. We actually heard. We're not actually sure if it's the same person, but when we was on Roy's show, we just couldn't ask the question, do we? We were so enthralled in what this guy was saying. So, but we're hoping to get that, hoping to link it up with something else.
The cannibalism that's happening in America and all over the place.
Link it all up with, that's with another gentleman.
Yes. So we're going to leave you with our last clip of an interview, which is Richard Felix.
Oh, Mr. He will keep talking forever.
Yes, he's going to tell you briefly about himself.
Very informative, but you can talk all night to Richard.
And
can I, at this point, thank all our guests throughout this year that we've been going, and all of them that have said that they're all willing to come back.
Yes, definitely.
So we must have been doing something right.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave you with that, and we'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Well, good evening, Richard Felix.
Hello.
How are you? Are you alright?
I'm very well. Extremely well. Very busy, but very well, yes.
I bet you are. Well, welcome to the KTPF Community Talk Show. Just to let you know, KTPF actually stands for Keeping the Paranormal Friendly.
Wonderful. So it should be.
Yes, definitely.
I couldn't agree more. First thing is, before we even start, I'd like to tell everybody that the profession of a ghost, if it had a profession, wouldn't be to scare you. Because they are mainly friendly.
Yes, definitely. Bit like Casper.
Yeah, well, I think so.
Yeah.
The sooner we get rid of all this silly, how can I put it, Scooby-Doo, scare factor, demons and all that sort of stuff, then the sooner science will start to appreciate what it's all about. But while we're all going around shouting about all these things that are going to get us at 3 o'clock in the morning, jangling chains at the foot of the bed and going, ooh.
This is it.
We're going to take it serious, you see, that's the thing.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking time to talk to us.
Pleasure.
Okay. For my first question,
yes.
I would like to know what makes a man who is so frightened of ghosts look for them.
Good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if only I could answer that, I'd probably be a millionaire. To be honest with you, I don't know. But I often wonder, I often say to myself and to people, is it something to do with therapy or something like that? In other words, I think something that you're frightened of, you probably have some form of fatal fascination for or interest in. So I've always had an interest, I suppose, in the thing that I'm frightened of.
Yeah.
And of course, as I said to you at the beginning, I'm trying to let everybody know, probably me as well, that they're actually not there to get you. Which of course they're not. But I still have this fear now. All these years on, because I've been frightened of ghosts since I was 4.
Yeah.
And it's still there.
Yeah.
As you probably noticed in the infrequent times on TV that I'd ever go off on my own.
Yes, definitely. And when you have done, you have been a little bit scared.
But there's none of the sort of the screaming abdubs like Yvette Fielding had. I mean, mine's genuine. I really was frightened. Of what? I don't know of what. I'm frightened of something that I don't understand. I think that's...
Yeah. Well, most people know you from being in the historian on Most Haunted, okay? But I would like to take you back before then, okay? Can you tell me a bit about yourself and what led you to the groundbreaking show?
Yeah, oh, gosh. Right, I mean, number one, obviously fear of ghosts. That's the big one. And an interest, I suppose, in it. But a huge interest in history in general, but mainly military history. Battles. I've always collected military uniforms and swords and guns and all that sort of. All I did as a kid was play soldiers, and all I ever wanted to be really was a soldier. And so that's. What's that got to do with it? I don't know. I don't know, but that's me, if you know what I mean. That's my life has really been the military things and the military history. And then to leading me to the ghost business and also to sort of the TV and Most Haunted and books and DVDs and everything else. I suppose it all started when I got involved in local tourism in Derby.
Yeah. And
became the chairman of Derby Tourism Association. Opened a heritage centre in an old Tudor grammar school that was getting on for 400 years old, with a ghost in it upstairs, ghost of a little boy in the dormitories upstairs. And obviously tourism and I was thinking of ways of how can we promote the city of Derby. Oh, ghost walks. York do it. Why don't we do it in Derby?
Yes, is it?
20 years ago, and that's really how it started. As you probably know, I've had Derby declared the most haunted city in Great Britain, with York and Chester joined second, God forbid. And obviously it's done the tourist business quite a lot of good in Derby, because we've taken something like 1.5 million people on the ghost walk in the last 20 years around the city of Derby. I then opened Derby Jail because of its history, because of its pedigree as a very haunted place, because I used to take people in before I owned it, before I had it, on ghost events.
Yeah.
And then I took it over, took it on, put it back to as much as we could to what it was in 1756, and then one day I got a letter in those days from Carl and Yvette asking me if they could come and do a programme on ghosts. But it wasn't called Most Haunted. It was before Most Haunted. I don't know what it was called. Haunting something or Haunting Secrets, or it wasn't something like that.
Yeah.
Then I got a call from them later, a couple of years later, and of course they came to the jail, did the show, which of course was quite amazing, because if those of you folks remember that one of the first almost genuine, as I believe, paranormal things to happen was when the cross moved on that piece of paper on the old prison bed.
Yeah.
In the cell.
Oh, I remember that.
everybody went bonkers.
Yeah.
And I was there with them, and I'm thinking, is that it? Is that as good as it gets? It only moved a few centimetres, but they were absolutely gobsmacked at what happened. Went away, rang me up a couple of weeks later and said, we've got a proposition for you. Can we come and see you? And I said, yeah, of course you can, absolutely. And they said, well, as the proprietor of the building, and as a witness, because I'd seen a ghost in the jail, then we should have given you a 2-minute slot on the show. But Cole said, but I'll be honest with you, Richard, after 25 minutes, we didn't know where to edit it. Would you like a job? And that was it. And the rest is most haunted history.
Definitely. Yeah, that was Richard Felix. So we're hoping to get Derek on sometime in 2013. He's been a bit busy.
Yes.
We got quite a few people to contact.
Yeah, we had Chris as well, didn't we?
Chris Conway,
Chris
yes.
Conway
I forgot
come
about
and joined
him.
us.
Yes, he did.
And our guest from...
Another ex-most haunted medium.
Over the September period, we was out more with them than we was our own.
Simply Ghost,
Simply
yeah,
Ghost.
definitely.
Rosie and Stuart, they come on through Skype.
Well, this is it. Well, basically, that's it for 2012. We just put a few snippets of the best bits. There was plenty more, but they were all so good, we just didn't know which to pick. So I hope you enjoy them. Please remember, you can listen to all of them on our YouTube page and listen back to them. And you will notice how we got a bit more experienced from the start. Asking questions, because this is new to us, isn't it?
It is. It's. I mean, the only experience we'd had was on Roy's show.
Yeah, on Zone Unknown.
And to be honest, all we were there was to take part and ask questions. We had nothing to do with the technical side of it, so we had to work all that out, get Skype coming through the system, probably get it all recorded. It's been a fast learning curve.
It has been a fast learning curve,
But,
as I say.
but we made it.
We're trying to just bring you a bit of everything pertaining to the paranormal. Please remember, we do need you to listen. We do need you to get involved as well. So if you are part of the paranormal in some way, shape or form out there, and you would like to be a guest on the show, then contact us at admin@ktpf.co.uk.
Yes, and also on the show we do the events for that month. You can get that free. Stick it on paranormaleventsforyou.com, and as long as you don't put the price for the venue and you have your URL link, so they hit that link and they go straight to your webpage. You must have a webpage. Facebook is no good.
Yes, and also don't forget.
Well, I say it's no good. It's no good for this.
Yeah, for that site.
Yeah, it's good for getting the word out. Which is
also, if you have a charity event or anything like that coming up on the week that we are actually broadcasting, just get it into us via email at, as I said, admin@ktpf.co.uk, and we will mention it gladly on the show and let everybody know about it. Also,
yes, but if you do that, you have to get back in touch or come on the show and tell us how it went.
Yeah, don't forget we have got the Facebook page as well.
Wigan Paranormal did that, didn't they? They raised I think it was over £2,000.
Yeah, I think so.
They had a really good night.
Yeah, and don't forget we do have a KTPF Community Talk Show page on Facebook, so you can contact us on there, and also we have the forum at the ktpf.co.uk, which is also where you can actually listen to the show on Wednesday nights, GMT.
From 8
o'clock.
From 8 p.m.
Yeah, remember it is coming from the UK, so it will be 8 p.m. UK time. Yeah. So if you are in another country, please adjust your time zone.
We do have some Americans listening, don't we?
Yes, we do. There's Anita and also John Savage that listening from Minnesota, and quite a few others that have popped their head in.
Yes, a lot of the time we don't know who's listening, do we?
No, this is it.
We just know who's in the chat room.
Yeah, so please come in, say hello.
Yeah. And every week, Sue puts a little banner up there, scroll that says, "Ring us."
Yes.
Please do. We will not bite your head off.
No. And you can ask us questions. Yes. You can tell us about yourself. You can even talk to our guests that are on the show.
It is so hard to get them to actually ring and pick up the phone.
Yeah.
They ask loads of questions in the chat room.
I know.
Some of which get missed because they go up so quick.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. But as I say, please keep on enjoying the show. Give us some advice as well. If you want to send us some advice on what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear.
Yeah,
who do you want on? You know.
Tell us who you want to ask questions of.
Please remember, it's your show as well. So until 2013,
we will do our best.
We will. Until 2013, remember, this is where it's at. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We will be back on the 9th of January with our guest Richard Freeman. Okay,
Yes.
telling us about his forthcoming expedition.
Yes, he's off to
Sumatra.
And when he comes back, he's gonna pop back on for a little while and tell us if he actually found
the orangutan deck.
They have found footprints. They found her hair. That's been in Liverpool last night. hair. But no, so they've only got to try and find the actual creature himself.
Yeah. So tune in to the online paranormal show, the KTPF Community Talk Show, live in the hub with myself, Suzanne, and Steve, we are actually from the UK Shadow Seekers and founder of the Keeping the Paranormal Friendly community website. So don't forget, get involved every Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT for more paranormal discussions, news and events, because the KTPF is where membership is just a smiling face. So until 2013, keep the paranormal friendly,
guys.
Bye.
Bye.